Up, dude.
What's up? How can you hear me? Am I sound good?
Yeah, sounds perfect.
All right. I was a little worried about this. I found these in like my closet.
No, those are actually the best headphones, dude. That's what I tell people. I'm like, hey, do you have those Apple headphones with the little, because I'm an idiot, and they're like, what are you talking about? I'm like, the ones with the little shit. You can use those if you want. I don't give a shit.
Nah, dude. I was trying to avoid having to use like my gaming headset.
Oh
Like
no,
this,
dude, I want to get a gaming headset to use. I got this microphone, and it makes the audio sound better for you. It's kind of making it better on the podcast, but I still haven't quite figured out like the intricacies of fucking mastering audio, so I still don't really know what's going on. I've been trying this software called OBS, and it's supposed to rip the audio directly from because normally I would just use the MacBook recorder. Can you hear me good? Well, I can't speak English, all right.
Yeah.
It's supposed to rip the audio directly. Or at first I was using the MacBook microphone, and that was just getting my voice, and then it was just recording like the feedback from the speakers. And I was like, all right, that's janky as shit. So I got a microphone, and then OBS Studios is supposed to rip it directly from the whatever audio is coming in from whoever's speaking to me. So it's supposed to sound better. The problem is it's so like intensive. Ironically enough, my laptop starts to undergo like nuclear fusion. It gets so fucking hot. So it's always a toss up. Sometimes I'll turn it on and the guest will be like, I can't fucking hear you, man. I'll be like, fuck. Or vice versa.
For me, like, I'm decent with computers, but once you start talking about like audio and shit, that's like
I don't know anything about it. I'm just like, can you hear it? But yeah, I'm starting to pick it up more when I like listen to other podcasts. Like shit I never would have noticed before. I'm like, oh, that is like crisp sound.
I listened to one, like the first 2 episodes, they were like, oh, this is like horrible. And then they even put like a preface later into them, and they were like, we apologize for the audio. It gets better episode 3.
Yeah. My first episodes, it literally sounds like a home video, like re-recorded onto a Game Boy. It's like, I was just like, I didn't know what to do. So I would get the video and I would just go into settings and be like, turn the audio up 600%, upload it. I'd be like, job well done. And like now it's like I'm getting better, but I imagine in a month I'll be looking back at this podcast and be like, oh my god, I'm such a fucking idiot. So
and learn.
Yeah, dude, introduce yourself, because I always forget to introduce guests, so people don't know who the fuck I'm talking to.
So I'm Kevin Colgan. I'm a nuclear equipment operator. So when we're talking about this, I'll also say that like I'm pretty new to the industry myself. I did, and we'll talk about more about this later, but I did 3 years at a trade school, which is a pretty interesting place. It's like tuition free. There's 6 trades there.
Yeah, I was wondering.
It's like pretty fraternal. Like there's 18 guys per class. It's very small. And it's like kind of like the military. Like you're up at like 6 a.m.
Yeah.
Shoes are shined, wearing a suit coat, all that.
Fuck yeah.
So I learned my trade there, and then developed it at 2 internships. One was at a combined cycle plant, which is natural gas. They basically use a jet engine. And then I did another one at a nuclear plant in New Jersey. And those were like 3-month stints each. And then from there, I went to where I'm at now. I'm a nuclear equipment operator. And you do like 18 months of training, and some of that's classroom, about 10 months to a year of classroom. And then you go over and do OJT, on-the-job training. And you get physically, I think I have it here, you get physically handed like a book that you need to get, certain tasks to do, signatures, blah, blah, blah. And then after that, you're a fully qualified operator, which I'm now, and I've been that for about a year now. So like I said, I'm still new, but in that short amount of time, you have to learn a lot to get where I'm at and the people above me are at. So I think I'm the youngest person in my department, which is cool, but also, there's negatives to it, but that's kind of my background.
No, you sent me those videos. I watched them. It was I forget the name of the school, but it was founded in 1888. They've had consecutive classes there since 1890. No, it sounds cool. That's the vibe I got from it. It sounds a lot like I listened to a book on FDR, not knowing that it was his like family, and the book was about like his ancestry, like barely about his presidency. But he went to some school called, I think it's called like Groton. I don't know where it's. I don't know. Part of me thinks it's in Connecticut. Part of me thinks it was in like the Midwest. But yeah, it talks about it's like, well, granted FDR was from like almost like billionaire royalty, but like the general, it was like, it wasn't like a normal like go act a fool. It was like you get there and it's very much like you said, fraternity. It was supposed to be like they instill you with traits that are going to stay with you your whole life, and it's I get that. I was in a fraternity in college, and like from the outside you kind of look at it like, oh, yeah, all right, keg stands and like a bunch of guys doing cocaine, and it's like, I mean, there was definitely some like crazy stories, but like really like what I got from that was like pledgeship was so difficult that if it did instill me with one thing, it taught me just to finish what I'm doing. Like I hated it while I was doing it, but I just remember thinking, I was like, I'm gonna get initiated just so I can quit. I was like, and then I got initiated, and the guys I was talking to them yesterday. They're still my best friends 10 years later. But like, it's definitely instilled me. I mean, that's 3 years after that I got into medical school, and I would attribute that entirely to that. It's just kind of break you in. So not that has anything to do with nuclear reactors, but yeah, I get it.
Yeah, I had nothing when I went to school. We don't learn anything about nuclear. We learn it's all fossil fuels. We have two boilers. They burn oil, natural gas. We have a turbine. So it's like the power plant behind it. That's similar. When you talk about nuclear, all nuclear is a regular power plant with a turbine, with a I already said turbine, with a turbine, pretty much everything else a generator. But then instead of a boiler or boiler burning fossil fuels or a jet engine like I talked about earlier, It's just a nuclear reactor with fuel bundles in it. So it's still the process is the same as steam generation from heat, and then you put that steam generation into a turbine, that spins a generator. That's all the same. But even then, like my trade, we learned how to do that. So you transfer to nuclear easily because, there's differences in what's going on inside the reactor building versus inside the turbine or inside the gas turbine compartment. But the fundamentals of how to be an operator is what we learned there. It's all very the same. When I first got to my school, I had no idea about any of this, like power generation. Someone said nuclear energy. I was like, where they just like heat it and then it kind of like resonates and then like there's like electricity and electrons and then like magically your iPhone's charged. Like that was my understanding.
That's how it still is to me. I'm like, well, they do the power thing and there's a bunch of guys in hard hats and skiddly doodah 1 2 3 and I'm like, and now my laptop works. So it's that simple. It's it's physics. It's like I have a biology major, dude, and I still look at like protein production and like DNA and RNA. Like I understand like the rest of physiology, and then I'm like, and then it goes into the nucleus and skiddly doodah abracadabra, and now you have blue eyes. And I'm just like, that's it. Stop asking questions.
Like, you're happy with like that little bit of knowledge you have. You're like, I don't want to go any further.
I don't want to. Cool. Don't ruin my worldview. It's perfect. It's like Santa's real. Just leave it alone. That's one thing I was thinking about last night because any interest or knowledge I have is actually an illusion of knowledge because I just like to listen to books and anything that's interesting to me. And there was a stint where I think it was after Chernobyl came out on like HBO last year. I watched that and I was like, RBMK reactors don't explode. But I was like, that's just the whole sort of the insanity of it all made me realize I was like, excuse me. I was like, it was such like a dangerous thing. And what got me thinking wasn't like, how can this not happen again? Like, I didn't care about it. I was just like, what is the payoff? Because there was a reason that it was worth doing and still doing, even if that happened. And I was like, so there's something, it's like Evel Knievel, like breaking his back on a stunt or something. And it's like, but he's still doing it. Why is he still doing it? And you're like, man, I bet it must be an adrenaline rush. I was like, we still do nuclear power. And I'm like, there must be a reason for it. And I started looking into it and I was like, this is black magic. It is. Yeah, dude. It is black magic.
I worked there and So I'm, like I said, I'm a nuclear equipment operator. So that means that I'm on the floor. I'm turning valves, running equipment. I'm taking readings on the equipment. And then there's the reactor operator, which is the guys. They're the Homer Simpsons. They're the guy in the room turning switches. They're the ones that are in charge of reactivity. And to make reactivity changes to a nuclear reactor, you have to be licensed by the Nuclear Regulatory Commission, the NRC. So you take testing, similar to what I did, but theirs is actually sanctioned by them, where I just kind of take a mock test similar to what they take. Mm-hmm. So I'm a non-licensed operator. They're licensed operators. They understand how nuclear reactivity works a lot more than I do. Mm-hmm. My job is just to operate the plant. Now, obviously, I have to have a pretty decent understanding of it to work there.
Yeah.
But as far as understanding exactly what's going on, and hey, if they insert this control rod or withdraw it, what will happen down to the very last system that they're touching. And we, like I said, we have a general knowledge of that too. But yeah, dude, that show Chernobyl, me and my girlfriend watched it, man, and I was getting anxiety watching it, dude. It was
yeah, it was
dude, it's those guys in the room in the beginning wearing the white lab coats, that's I mean, we don't look like cooks modern day, but that's it. You're in a room and you just have this sun burning next to you 100 feet, man.
It's just it's like the power of the gods is right there, and it's just flip the Akimov. I literally just watched a clip of it right before I started, and I was like, the reactor exploded. The core exploded, and I was just I was like, yeah, that's. But yeah, there's a reason for it, and it's just it does almost seem like this sort of magic though. It's we take this rod and we put it in here, and it's gonna heat up. But ultimately at the same time, it's weird because as advanced as it is, it's still almost the most basic thing, because ultimately we're just heating up water. Yeah,
they have this shit down to a science, dude.
Yeah.
We have whole departments called reactor engineers, which can determine over the life of a core. So the average life of your fuel is 6 years.
Okay.
And then you cycle that in basically thirds. So you have your fuel in, and then the first third, you don't all put it in at once. The first third will leave, and then you put new fuel in there. And then that second third will leave, and then you put new fuel in there.
Yeah.
And so on and so forth. And you do that every 2 years, and you just keep recycling a third of the core.
So exactly like the Senate.
And they have this so down to a science, the reactor engineers, where it's all right, where if we move this rod here, after on the second move to here, we're going to generate more power. They know exactly what they're doing down to the megawatt, down to everything. It's very controlled.
Yeah.
And it's to talk about Chernobyl, because I'm sure people that watch this are going to want to hear about the accidents and the blowing shit up shit.
Yeah, no one cares when it goes swimmingly.
No one
it's
cares.
Okay, cool, whatever. My light bulb come on. Tell me about the mutants.
No one thinks about it.
Yeah.
The three major accidents in nuclear are 3 Mile Island, which I think most people in America know about that one.
Yeah.
Fukushima and Chernobyl. And the whole thing about the nuclear industry is that we're a learning industry. We must learn from our mistakes in order to operate safely, because that's what we do, is we're protecting the public. And everything that has ever happened in the nuclear industry, from 3 Mile Island for people not validating a valve's position, to Fukushima for not having a reliable emergency backup power, and for Chernobyl for bypassing safety systems and proceeding in the unknown, which is something we don't do. If we cannot answer what will happen before we do it, we don't do it. It's a very slow, methodical approach to operation. And it's kind of odd because we're also a publicly traded company. We want to make money. So, having that fight between
profit,
safety, and then profit, it's funny how it plays out in the real world, but we do safety is prioritized.
Yeah.
We do not proceed in the face of uncertainty. It's so all those things, Chernobyl, they did a pretty good job. They bypassed turbine trip systems, tried to make their turbine coast down on just the steam that was currently in the reactor. And then they isolated their turbine after they tried to do this. Basically, they no longer have a place to put all that pent up energy. And then this part I'm not exactly too good with, but whatever they were using for their moderator, like graphite, they had like tips on it or something. Yeah. So when as soon as they isolated, it built back up, and I think a chain reaction inside the reactor caused it to explode.
Yeah.
So it was really just them proceeding in the face of uncertainty and bypassing safety systems, which we do not do at all. And we have redundancies built in where if we do bypass one for testing, you have 3 more sitting there to back you up. Like we're very methodical. For Fukushima, it was they were doing okay. They got hit with like 9 consecutive tsunamis, which is like holy shit. Like we're not, it's like what do you want us to do at that point? But their problem was that their diesel, which all nuclear plants have diesel power for backup fuel. We have to be able to run our safety systems in the event that we have a loop, which is a loss of all-site power. We have to be able to make backup power to cool the reactor if we shut down. Their fuel tanks got physically washed away, so they they couldn't run their diesels, and it got to the point where people were literally bringing car batteries from the parking lot down to try to power stuff. And our response to that was that we had these things called Flex and B5B, which is like we can get within 24 hours, a nuclear plant can get all these backup pumps, diesel fuel flowed into our plants or driven in. And we also have stuff on site to cool in various ways. Like we never allow one thing to hurt us.
Yeah.
Like never allow it.
So with what was it? Flex what?
Flex and B5B.
Yeah.
They're both responses to accidents and mitigation strategies for like outside events that could hurt us, like tornadoes, stuff like that. Like if power lines go down.
Yeah, it's about having an immediate like supply line. How is that affected right now, where supply lines are shut down?
It's interesting because right now we're in a refueling outage, or we're going into one soon. And that thing I was talking about, like the core life gets shuffled. We're going into an outage, and so we have 2 units. One of them is down powered. It's about to go down, and we have this coronavirus shit going around. So it's like everyone's like social distance, right? No more than groups of 10 people. We're about to turn into a city with 2,000 people. Yeah. And it's like, what are you doing? Like, we're talking about making operators stay over the plant, like sleep there. We're trying to social distance operators from the rest of the plant because ultimately, if we're not there, we can't run. They'll physically take our keys and say, no, you're not allowed anymore. Yeah. It's a challenging time for everybody. And like, that's above my pay grade to make the call. But dude, it's like everybody's uncertain and we're kind of just waiting for the first case to break out.
Yeah. Well, it comes down to like, so I had on a physician yesterday and he was talking about like coronavirus and like, how they're treating it. And he's like, it's really not difficult to treat. He's like, it can be treated. He's like, it's the amount of people that need to be treated. It's almost like you could hold a penny. Hell, you could probably, you're a young guy, you could probably hold 100 pennies, right? So pennies aren't hard to hold. Can you hold 600 trillion? No, that will crush a fucking tank into a pancake. Okay. Yeah. Well, he's like, so we get to a point where we're like, he's like the unthinkable, but you get to a point where you're like, okay, now we have 2 incoming patients that just walked in side by side, both equally sick. One of them's 85 and has had 3 heart attacks, and one of them's 25. It's which one's probably going to live? Okay, what if they have equal probabilities of living? Okay, well, now which one deserves to live? And it's like, that one got 8 decades. Like, it's that guy still should get to. So it gets to a point where it's like you start weighing, you just go to the extremes, and it's like all like you have to remove, and not in a negative way so much as it's a tactical way. You have to remove. It's like how they say like surgeons should never know who they're operating on because they have to be compassionate doctors, which they are, but they also have to remove themselves from the situation and look at it as a car or like a bomb and be like, this is what I have to do right now. You can't think about, oh my God, I might lose my daughter. You have to be like, this is what I'm doing and this is going to save this person. It might not. So you have to almost remove the humanity from the situation in order to be humane on the whole.
Yeah.
All that said, tying it into like a nuclear power plant, I would imagine it gets to a point where it's like Which one is more dangerous, a nuclear power plant melting down or coronavirus? It's probably more dangerous to have this thing melt down. It's in my completely uneducated 30,000 foot armchair nuclear reactor officiating. I'd be like, all right, we're probably all going to get coronavirus. Probably a small percentage are going to die. That's a lot better than a nuclear meltdown. Because if a nuclear meltdown happens, now you got to clean it up, and everyone's still going to get coronavirus.
Yeah.
So it's like
something like that. It's like we would never get to the point. Like, even if all our guys got sick, and like say we physically couldn't staff people, like we would shut it down. We'd go into shutdown cooling. We would have people there that could run it, but it's in a shutdown state in a different opcon. So like our staffing requirements drop. Like we would still ultimately take the most conservative decision, which would be to down power, to not produce electricity, and to protect the public. So but for right now, when I talk about that, remember earlier, that safety versus profit thing, it's like someone has to make the call where are we at risk of infecting people? But then we have this tight pre-planned window that's been planned for 2 years to perform this refueling outage where, are we going to cancel it? You can't cancel it because we're losing money by the day. Like, we're down powered. We're making less than a third of what we previously were making. We're losing money day by day.
Yeah.
So it's interesting, but ultimately they'll do what the best intent is they'll find that middle ground, and they'll never compromise safety, but they'll find that middle ground where they can say, all right, we'll remove some things from the outage. We'll shorten it a little bit. We'll put in social distancing plans. We'll start sanitizing areas like doors, and they have done that. You've seen like an uptick in things like that. But it's still like nobody knows how far this thing is going to push people.
Yeah.
At all.
Yeah. But I feel like even aside from just, that's like a critical piece of infrastructure, regardless of nuclear power or whether you're, running a windmill. It's like that's still critical just in general. Like, gyms are shutting down. Like, okay, oh no, I can't go to the gym. All right, but I can still walk around my neighborhood. I can still do push-ups, like, right, whatever. It's not exactly critical. But power generation, regardless of nuclear or not, it's just like power generation is critical. Like, everyone's at home. It's like, at the very least, like, let's keep the lights and the air conditioner and the TV on. Like, let's not have people... How are we going to be able to
do the podcast if we're not...
Exactly. That's what I'm talking about, man. Yeah, bring this to your managers. Be like, hey.
Yes.
Hey, nuclear react, whatever. There's a podcast out there that we can't let die.
That's going on, man.
Fuck coronavirus. Have you heard about this thing? This is bigger. Yeah. No, I like your thinking. But I feel like that may be... Because I'm sure... So let's think about like an oil refinery or just whatever, a natural gas power plant, coal-fired power plant. Regardless of profit and regardless of corona infection, at the very least, there's still, you got to weigh just like, is the government going to say, keep that up and running? Keep that up and running.
They would. Think about it. Like, all right, so like power generation. So this is kind of on like a really big scale, but like when you think about it, we generate power, everyone's lights are still on, everyone's still happy. Hospitals are still getting electricity. Say we turn off. Everybody turns off, whatever. All right, now the hospitals have to use backup power. So that requires a fossil fuel, right? So now a refinery turns off. How are they getting that backup fuel? Now, if a hospital doesn't have primary power and they don't have their secondary power, now who are they treating? Their ventilators stop working. It's like, I don't want to say we're more essential, but like we have like the background.
You're absolutely more essential.
We're giving like, no, sure. But like, right now, like honestly, the nurses and those people, the people working in our medical fields are putting themselves on like the front lines. Like, we're just back there to make sure the status quo is still maintained and all that. It's just, if something was to break out, like there would be like a Department of Energy response of like, you guys need to keep going on It's a vital part of the infrastructure. Think about the panic, man. If people didn't have their lights and power, think about the panic.
Like, I would lose it.
Yeah, it'd be wild, dude. It'd be absolutely wild.
Yeah, I'm staying sane because I can sleep with the air conditioner on, and I do my podcast, and then after the podcast, I play video games. I mute video games, and I listen to audiobooks while I play. If I can't play Grand Theft Auto and listen to, a book about, like, Nazi scientists, dog, now I'm going to fucking lose it. Like, So, but you were saying, you guys are they're on the front line. But no, I would say you guys are interchangeably important, and not being, like, not exaggerating. I mean, think about, like, the troops on the literal front line in World War II. But think about, like, the war effort at home. Like, women coming in and, like, you're now producing B-29s. You're now producing artillery shells. It's
sure.
It's think about all the little propaganda. Like, you keep producing, we'll keep them firing thing. Like, because they can't, it doesn't matter how brave they are. It doesn't matter how much guts and how, grab their balls and it's D-Day. If there's no ammunition in their guns, that doesn't fucking matter. If there's no fuel in the troop transports dropping them on the beaches, you can have all the gusto in the world. It doesn't matter, right? Mm-hmm. So yes, they're on the front line treating everyone. None of that matters if they can't see what they're doing. None of that matters if they can't, go into the computers or monitor the systems, or the anesthesiologist can't have their pumps running. None of that matters. So I would say it's equally important. So screw your humility. You're wrong. You're equally important.
I'll tell you what, my commute's like 30 minutes shorter. That's pretty cool.
Shout out. Yeah.
It's different. It's a different time. We're seeing, like, people see us as essential, or our plant views operators as essential now. Like, they're putting responses in to protect us specifically. It's I think people do see us as essential, but not sure. If it broke out at work, it'd be a very, very interesting time and challenging to see how many different agencies would respond along with just us, like the contingencies that they would take. And my work is pretty prepared. Like, we've had, like, procedures for emergency preparedness due to pandemics and stuff, and it's wild to think about. I think during one of the outbreaks, like H1N1, or like a couple years ago, they actually sent everybody, like, not panic kits, but along those lines, with, like, masks and what else they sent? They sent, like, a case of water, masks, I think, like, hand sanitizer, and, like, disinfecting kits. So it's like they're a pretty prepared organization for a breakout like this. It just happens to coincide with the worst possible timing of when we had the max people on site. Yeah,
man, it's almost like Transformers. It's not to compare the sincerity of coronavirus to Optimus Prime, but it's like, fate rarely calls on us at a time of our choosing. No pandemic's going to be like, I'm going to come fuck the whole world. Oh, wait, you guys are switching out fuel rods?
Yeah, we'll stop.
Hold. Right, they're switched out. Now I'm going to come shut down. Nah, dude, it doesn't care, man. It doesn't care. But I would say that y'all are even more important than just other energy production, because let's say it does hit the fan, right? You're eventually, so let's just take it to, because that's all I can ever do is take things to the extreme.
Oh yeah, it's fun to run this.
Yeah. If we run this simulation as far as possible, because on a long enough timeline, even the smallest percentages of growth or degradation matter. Fossil fuels would be, again, on a long enough timeline. Maybe it's a month, maybe it's a century. I don't know, but just on a long enough timeline, that requires more people. That requires international agreements. That requires shipping. That requires all these massive oil tankers. That requires just make sure we don't run out of the stuff from coming out of the ground. There are a lot more versus, like, if you're a Mars rover, or if you're like the Voyager spacecraft, like, do we send those up there with diesel generators? No, we send them up there with nuclear cores, because that lasts the longest with the smallest amount. If shit continues to hit the fan, if it becomes a perpetual just jet of shit hitting the perpetual fan, you're going to want the thing that lasts the longest and is the most efficient. And that's nuclear power. Unless the government wants to open up Area 51 and give us some of that sweet alien tech, right? That's my 2 cents. Is I think nuclear power is the most important, because that's, again, speaking out of turn, because I'm clearly not educated in this, but what do you think?
Yeah, if it got really bad, we'll just keep running with this. Say everybody got infected, everybody,
100%.
And infrastructure broke down. All right, so say maybe pipelines could keep pushing natural gas through for a little bit. But even then, they have pumping stations. They have booster pumping stations throughout. They have people that are doing switches, saying, all right, you go here now, you go there now. They still have a lot of infrastructure to get to where they're going. And then they also have the operators at the plant running all those things. So if any of those links in the chain break down, then, that you would see power generation fall down. We're a nuclear plant. If we get through this refueling outage and it keeps going, we would have another 2 years on the one unit and then another year on the other unit, while we could just continue making power with no intervention besides the operators on a daily basis. And it'd be, but even then, we still have transmission operators, which are the guys in the little substations you see around your neighborhoods. They're the guys opening up switches, saying, all right, no, there's a fault in this line, open up here, bypass it, go around there. There's still a lot of people involved in the process, from me at the plant to you charging your phone. There's a lot of links in each chain, but ultimately, if someone was looking at it, say, hey, we have X amount of manpower, and to staff a nuclear plant and then to staff electricity transmission, it might be easier to say, hey, let's put our limited resources ensuring that the transmission from the nuclear plant gets to the people's houses, instead of putting it behind the transfer of fuel to another plant. If you ran it that way, it does make sense.
It absolutely does, because everything you just mentioned, sure, you got to have the guys come and, do the magic in the boxes, sprinkle the fairy dust, naturally. It's, a lot of people don't know that. It's actually gremlins and little fairies. But everyone that has to service those and maintain those, that's not something you can deny. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that problem applies to natural gas refineries as well, right? Because that's still just the actual transmission of power to the homes, whether it comes from literally an 1800s water wheel or nuclear power or anything in between. So that's
they're all the same.
So that's a problem in itself, independent of power generation. Put all our eggs in the power that's not going to go out. It requires the least intervention, is the most efficient. And because you could theoretically, just taking it to the extreme, you could test everyone there. No one has COVID. Lock it the fuck down. Now no one can leave. None of you have COVID. We'll deliver food and water. You can, it'd be like a jail cell. You can, your significant others can come and talk to you through glass. But you guys are a power source. No one's infected. Keep that thing going. So who knows? Maybe we're gonna make a massive shift to nuclear energy.
I would hope. It's people are scared of it though.
Which is stupid as shit.
Yeah, it is. There's, to put it this way, who's going to want to, if you're a senator or a congressman, if you sign for a nuclear power plant to be built in your area, then ultimately, the only thing you can get is backlash. A lot of these things that are already existing are 40, 20, 40, 60. There was a plant that just shut down in New Jersey, 60 years old. And it's who's going to sign it to build a new one? Well, guess what? You're going to get opposition from people. You might not get, there will be support, but it won't be nobody wants it in their backyard.
I do. I'll take it. I don't give a shit. I'm a realist.
Well, good. Yeah. But the majority of people are going to be I don't want this in my backyard. And you're going to get tons and tons of flack, where if you just say to build a natural gas plant, nobody's really going to care. Nobody's really going to fight it that much. It's I don't know. People get so bent out of shape about it, and they think nuclear waste, all this stuff, all bad. It's we emit zero carbon at our plant.
Yeah.
Okay, how many people can say that? Like,
No one.
Yeah, we kind of cheat. We have like boilers for heating steam for like the buildings, so we do a little bit, but like that doesn't really count.
Yeah.
It's just like it's like a boiler at a laundromat or somewhere, like just like that.
Yeah, it's been the future since like the 50s, like the limitless power of the atom. You know, what does the atom hold in store? What's the famous quote from the 50s? It's too cheap to meter. It's the unlimited power of the atom. And it's kind of like when people will point to like, oh, it's like when a boomer points to like, oh, look, a Tesla self-driving car crashed again. And it's like, how many cars crash a day? Do they make the news? They make it the news if someone famous died. If it makes the news that a Tesla car crashed, it's because it happens so infrequently that it makes the news. Why do you hear about plane crashes? Because it happens so infrequently when it happens. Why does everyone know about the nuclear disasters? Chernobyl, 3 Mile Island, Fukushima? Because it happens so infrequently.
Yeah, and all three of those are contributed to like
safety guidelines are written in blood. Yeah, safety guidelines are written in blood.
Things that absolutely could have been prevented, and then now we're at a place where it couldn't happen again. And you look at China, man, like they are dumping so much money with nuclear power. It's like ridiculous.
They are ramping it the fuck up.
Yeah.
Because it is. I mean, I was just going down some like mindless time suck on YouTube where you just click on the related video for like 11 hours and then you kind of come to it's 3 a.m. Like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
That being said, I was watching this sick video of this like this Russian icebreaker up in the Arctic, and it was going to like rescue some Russian ship or whatever. And it's just this like, it is just the epitome of just like of power, right? It's this thing of, it's like negative 40 degrees Fahrenheit. Like there's like the huge icicles hanging off, and this thing's just, and just not only that, it's cracking through like Arctic ice, and it's just like, this is the epitome of just like facing the elements and doing it in stride, right? But there was some comment that's like, and isn't that crazy how that whole thing, because this was a nuclear powered icebreaker, it's the biggest in the world, so isn't that crazy how that whole thing's powered by just a couple pellets of uranium? And then it was just like this comment made by Nuclear Power Gang, and it's like, but it's true. Think about it. It's like,
look at aircraft carriers for the United States, man.
But look where it matters.
And there have been crazier, like, because
nuclear subs.
A commercial plant is only allowed to have like enriched uranium and like a couple percent, where like the ones on aircraft carriers, and this is like the government steals our cool uranium. They have like up in the 90s, I think. I'm not ex-Navy. A lot of guys I work with are, but they have like highly enriched uranium, like where they refuel every 20 years.
Yes.
And it's literally just, that thing could sail around the world for 20 years. Granted, with like food and stuff like that, all that, but they could just 20 years they're sailing around.
The nuclear subs,
The Navy doesn't have any accidents. They run pretty damn efficient.
Yeah.
They know what they're doing, and it's, I don't know, it's fine for the Navy to do it, but for us at home, apparently it's not.
Yeah, it's like, look where it matters. Aircraft carriers, which is our mobile Air Force bases, right? That's the long dick of Uncle Sam, and nuclear submarines. The third leg of the nuclear triad that can stay underwater, avoid a first attack, and they are the most important part of our mutually assured destruction because they ensure a secondary attack because they can stay under 70% of the Earth's surface, stealthy, with 24 SLBM submarine-launched ballistic missiles, each one with 10 MIRVs, multiple independent reentry vehicles. Each one of those.
Dude, I don't know, but I'm sure it sounds pretty cool.
Yeah. Point is,
that American flag makes you sound more convincing.
But the point is what I'm saying is the most important blades in our arsenal of weapons are the ones that these cannot die. These cannot die.
Trust
American projection and second nuclear strike. So what do? Run them on nuclear.
Makes sense,
isn't that something? Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't know, man. The United States is huge, and power generation gets kind of tricky when you talk about transmission over long distances. But like, put these in the middle of nowhere, away from cities, away from public fear, and just build them, man.
Yeah.
One argument against it though is that I watched a cool video on it too, and I'll send it to you after this so you can maybe put a link in it and people can watch it. Is that it talks about like the cost of a nuclear plant building one versus the cost of a gas plant, and it really talks about the initial investment of these companies. And it's like, all right, so you're company X and you want to build a power generating station. All right, so realistically, it's going to cost you let's just call it, and this guy breaks it down into units. He'll do a much better job, but it costs you like 10 times the amount, the initial investment, than it would for a fossil fuel plant. So you're already down, and the build time is longer too. So you're already down that initial investment plus a longer build time compared to a fossil fuel plant, which they can throw these things up in like 2 years, dude. They're fucking good at it.
Yeah,
Yeah, so it's already, so you build it 2 years, you're down 2 years of investment plus 1/10 of a nuclear plant. And then, but you are paying for a shit ton of fuel every day, every year. So without going through it like this guy does, all right, so 6 years goes by, you've been operating for 4, underwater for 2, nuclear plant just started operating, they're underwater for 6 years. It takes, I think they said like 25 years before nuclear starts taking over the cost per fuel and building for nuclear to become like profitable. But once it does, it's like insanely more profitable because they beat that. Their fuel cost is so cheap compared to fuel every day. And then even then you're looking at like 0 carbon over its life. That where the fossil fuel plant put out a shit ton over its 25-year life. And it's like, so if we can get some, there's so much to talk about with this, with like solar, with like carbon credits and all that. But like, if we can get like actual legislation behind nuclear and say like, hey, this is, we need to offset these costs to encourage people to build more. That's what we need to do. It's pretty interesting to talk about like the responsibility of the government to intervene to make this more attractive to people in the private sector.
Yeah. That's what I was gonna say. As much as small government as I am, that's what I was gonna say. Was like, that they're gonna have to be the ones who lead the charge, because you're right. Just looking at these private capitalists, these entrepreneurs, you can't. They speak in one language, and the language is bottom line. And if you're publicly traded, it's written into your bylaws. You have to do the most. You have to do the most in your power to increase shareholders' profits. It's almost like the space race, where it's like how it started with. I had a guy on from NASA last week, and he said in equivalent dollars, it would be, I think, $100 billion to do what's it called, Apollo today. But now look, that pioneering science is now being paid off with SpaceX, with Blue Origin, with all this other shit. You'd almost need to have the government step in and be like, we will cover the cost, and and you can pay it back once it starts making money.
Oh yeah, look at solar. They did it with solar. Like California did huge solar subsidies. New Jersey does a lot. All these people that like initially offset your cost to where like the cost of building when the technology is low is going to be expensive, but then they offset that. So now it's to the point where they're making like solar is almost cheaper to produce than a fossil fuel. It's getting to that point because there was that initial intervention to make it attractive to private investors. And it's hard. Like there's a lot of legislation between different states trying to give like a carbon free credit, but then is nuclear part of that? Or and of course, and then like the whole renewable, is nuclear renewable? And then you're talking about like recycling spent fuel, and there's just a lot to drop on one person's plate and say, decide this. It's but ultimately it would be good to find someone that just kind of cut it black and white and said nuclear is whatever you want to call it, carbon free and renewable, and make that more attractive to people again.
I mean, coronavirus might be the scare that, because I mean, we have massive oil reserves here. Let's pretend we didn't. We just cut the valve off a couple days ago. It'd just be, how long does your diesel tank last? All right, when that's up, nothing.
Yeah.
Nuclear. If we had nuclear, that would work. It's hopefully that's. I'm just not on board with the whole like nuclear power is the end of the world. I'm like, no, everything else we're doing is the end
No.
of the world.
Yeah.
Furthermore, you know what? I reached out to Shell and because they have a huge ship called the FLNG. It is the biggest fucking ship I've ever seen in my life. It's literally like an oil refinery at sea. I asked them to do my podcast and they just said no. It wasn't even like thank you for the invitation. They said no. You came on, so that's nuclear power 1. That's Shell 0. That's all I'm concerned about. So when I'm president, I'll remember that.
Yeah, please do.
Yeah. Just getting on about the guy I had on, Dale Comstock, the Delta Force bro, who said he did private nuclear security. I haven't talked to him about that yet. I need to. He's coming on tomorrow. I'll actually fucking make a note of that. Talk to him about that. But yeah, I said that, and you smiled, and you're like, yeah, our security.
Yeah, dude, it's fun, dude. Like, well, it's kind of like not fun, but it's just like interesting to be around, dude.
Yeah.
Like, you'll walk. First of all, the planet has to have security, armed security, like AR-15 in your hand, security at all times.
Fuck yeah.
And like, I think they're the biggest department on site. Like, they must have like the most staffing, and it's literally like we're a military base, man. Like, they have gates that they can control. There's people to control them that they can shut, and there's airlocks, and they can all be locked. And like, to get into the control room, you have to. This would be wild, but first of all, when you come in the plant, it's like there's like 10-foot tall fences wrapped around barbed wire around. There's these things called BREs, which are like bullet resistant enclosures that are like 20 feet above those perimeter fences. And they have like gun ports, and there's two guys up there at one time, maybe one, I don't really know. And like, they're just overwatching like the perimeter.
Yeah.
And then you walk in the plant, you go through, I sent you the video, I don't know if you watched this part, but you have to, you go through a bomb sniffer.
Okay.
And then you put all your personal artifacts through an X-ray detector. It's like an airport. And then but without the bomb sniffer. And then you go through a metal detector. So it's like you have no metal on you. You demetal it. The X-ray looked at it. You don't have any funky wires or anything like there. So you already came in. You already got searched. And they have the right to pull you aside and do even a more personal search on you.
Yeah.
And then from there, you're wearing your badge, which is like your identification at all times. Like, if you're walking in one of these plants, you don't have a badge, you'll get a gun pointed at you. But like that never happens. Like, that will never happen. They wouldn't let you in to begin with. But like, if it was to happen, and then you have to go in and put hand geometry. So like, you put your hand up, and like, it like there's like prongs, and it verifies the shape of your hand. And then you're allowed through a turnstile, which is locked unless you unlock it with the hand geometry. So then you're in the perimeter of the plant. Then you have to get into like the plant proper, you have to. This is actually the easier part, but then you have to like put like an RCA dosimeter, which is like what tracks our dose we're receiving, on a turnstile. Then you're in the plant proper, and then to get into like the reactor building, you have to scan your badge on the. I don't even know if I'm allowed to talk about this stuff. I think you have to scan your badge
if you can't
onto
talk
like
about
a card reader, and then you go into an airlock, and then you open it up, and then you're in the reactor building. And then there's nuclear guards kind of patrolling them every now and then. Like, they take their rounds. And that's the same deal with the control room. You have to get through like it would be really hard, man. It would be really hard.
Is there like places you can't go? Is there like further in that like even you don't know?
No, like ops is like unrestricted. Like, we're allowed to go anywhere. Pretty much, if you're a badge nuclear employee, you're allowed to go anywhere, really. There are certain areas that, like, just, like, anyone couldn't go. Like, you do have to get, like, a level-up clearance to get access to, like, the control room and stuff, and not just, like, on site. Mm-hmm. But for ops, like we run the plant, we have to be everywhere. We're allowed to go anywhere. There are places that security has to escort us, where it's let me think of one example. Like if we're going like between the fences to check something, like they might have to escort us because they have like radar that's like checking those areas if there's movement. So it's like we're They escort us. They're like, all right, we have 2 people in, blah, 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 close the fence. We're in it with them. So, like, they know their radar pings are like, you know, us.
Yeah.
But yeah, beyond that, beyond like what we get escorted into, there's really nowhere we can't go. We have to be everywhere. But yeah, man, security is a weird job. They have to be there 24/7 like us. They work shift work like us. It's it seems like a cool job.
Yeah.
Like I mean, I guarantee it's boring. Like you're kind of just nobody's attacking you.
Yeah.
But dude, you know, it's pretty cool. They have these like simulations where like they put in I don't even know if they use their real guns with blank rounds or if they use like laser tag basically, but like they have like simulations where there's like attack squad versus defense squad. And like they get in like firefights to practice like an invasion on the plant. Like they're prepared, motherfuckers. Like
Jesus, that's fucking awesome.
Dude, you'll be walking in, they'll put like little signs up, like a wet floor sign, but it'll be like
attacks.
It'll be like attack squad training, like call security if you have any questions. Like
yeah. You got to though. I mean, because you know, if you're wave to the NSA, if you're trying to do like a terrorist attack, right? And you might not even be doing some like, you know, some like tier 1 extraction, like we got to remove the nuclear core, you know, we're selling it to the highest bidder. Like, no, if you're just going in there and it's like, I just want to fuck some shit up, but I don't want to be your run of the mill terrorist that kills a couple people. Like, I want to go down in history books as like, or even shit, very real would be like sabotage, you know?
Yeah.
That's
our biggest worry.
Yeah, warfare. Go in and cause a nuclear disaster and make America look bad, or even just like, hey, if you're planning an invasion, cut out some of the power sources.
Do you remember the thing, maybe when I talk about it you will, but Stuxnet or Stuxnet, I think.
Stuxnet.
Yeah, where we
took out Iran.
Where it was cybersecurity attack.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like anything physical, it was like all cybersecurity.
It was a thumb drive. We went in and we jacked up their centrifuges.
Yeah, like the nuclear industry's biggest fear is like insider. Like that's what we worry about is someone being an insider. So like we have to agent. When you first go, you get interviewed by a psychologist to get badged. So like a psychologist will interview you and determine, you know, is this guy an at-risk employee? It's really rare for someone to fail. But like if you're an operator or a security guard or even anyone bads, you have to get regular psychological checkups every, I think, 5 years. And you also have to go and like get your hands scanned again and do all that stuff. But then there's things like you have critical group access. Like I'm allowed information that someone else isn't allowed, and I'm allowed to view things that someone else isn't allowed to view. And our biggest worry is that there would be a Stuxnet situation for us where someone comes in, they're a badged employee, they passed all their things, they're allowed unrestricted access to a nuclear power plant, and they bring out a flash drive, and maybe they're not even the guy, but maybe they don't even know, and they plug it into something, and then our control room, everything's looking fine for readings in the control room, but in the field, this thing's fucking whipping and whipping and whipping, and then, but the control room still thinks it's fine because their indications are fine. Like they're
Ocean's 11.
Yeah, like that's our field's biggest worry. And it's kind of interesting because like nuclear is kind of an older technology, at least in the United States. So it's like having like an older technology combating this like new threat, I guess, is like an interesting time. Like there's certain keys to open up panels that have to be physically controlled by a person at all times, or like locked away in a cabinet. And like as an operator, you have the qualifications to touch that key. There's all like sort of weird shit that goes on with like cybersecurity and defense measures and stuff. But it's that's like the real biggest threat because real is good. Who's gonna roll in with a tank?
Yeah. You just froze up. Kevin? Sorry, NSA. Jesus. Guys are always ruining. You know, oddly enough, the calls always do. I think it's like 5 for 5 now. In like the few episodes that at some point I've said, wave to the NSA, it always shuts down. Now, granted, nothing's happening, but I like to imagine that's happening.
Well, I said tank rolling in a nuclear power plant, and then just boom.
Yeah. It's like, all right, let's tank rolling in a nuclear power plant, Washington, D.C., coronavirus, warfare, attack on the White House. Were you good?
We hit
Anthrax,
all the markers.
9/11, yeah. Abu bin Bajabi. All right, I think we're good. As long as they know, it's just like, hey, man, just, come on in, guys. It's like, I think it was when Rogan had on Bob Lazar at some point. No, when he had on Ed Snowden, he was like, at some point, he was like, they're doing it obviously through Skype. And
yeah, I was about to say, I haven't seen that, but they obviously didn't do it live, did they?
No. But at some point, like, I think young Jamie was like, no, just because he said, like, no, it said, like, I think Jamie accidentally joined the chat or something. But Rogan was like, oh, a third person just joined the chat. Snowden was like, hey, U.S. government, like, come on in. Like, but
I wouldn't be surprised.
I wouldn't be surprised at all. It's, am I recording? Yeah, I'm recording. Yeah, man. But I was thinking, if you wanted to fuck some shit up, that's what you do. But even maybe you're not a lone terrorist. Maybe you're, nowadays,
There's like, they do like credit checks on us to see like if we're, because think about it, like I'm a nuclear employee. I'm $200,000 in debt. Osama hands me a sack of shit with $400,000 in it and says, tell me some info, or like take this hard drive and plug it in. Like, you're an at-risk employee.
Well, absolutely. That's Batman, the Dark Knight, right?
Yeah.
How'd they get oops. Can you hear me?
Yeah, still good.
Okay. Yeah, I accidentally unplugged my microphone because I'm an idiot. Okay. Yeah, I mean, Batman, Dark Knight, when he's like, I'm sorry, like, my mother's medical bills, like, they got to me. It's like the Mafia or the Joker. Yeah, you are an at-risk employee. It's
real, man.
Yeah.
It's real.
Man, God, I hope Bob Lazar's story is real. I want it to be real. But
I didn't hear that episode. What were they talking about?
Oh, just, aliens, UFOs. I don't give a fuck. Aliens, UFOs.
I got this new stuff, dude. I'm off for like 7 days. Like, we work like shift work.
Yeah.
So we have like long breaks.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be like a Michelob Ultra, but better. It tastes more like beer, less water. It's a St. Archer Gold.
Shout out St. Archer Gold.
Yeah, not a sponsor.
Fuck that. I'll take a sponsor. I don't give a fuck. Yeah, I always say that. I'm like, not sponsored, but like, it's not because I'm above it. It's because I'm just not sponsored. Like, anyone wants to come in. Hey, speaking of at risk, hey, I'm an at risk podcaster. Yeah. Communist Party of China, you guys want to sponsor me? I'll fucking switch this flag out tomorrow. Welcome to Tomacast. Yeah, it's if you wanted to fucking fuck some shit up, that's what you do. Is you'd fuck up a nuclear power plant. And it's probably not going to be some lone wolf motherfucker, because that lone wolf is he's either planning that far ahead to be an inside man, that if you're that smart to plan that far ahead, why would you not just, if you're that smart and that dedicated, you could probably also become a billionaire. Like, Yeah,
dude, it's like, and it would like,
you'd have to get a tank. You'd literally have to get a tank.
Dude, even like one guy, like, say like someone did something and like made our turbine look like a false reading. Like, we have so many things like redundancies built in where maybe they took out one of our systems, but like we have like 4 or 5 ECCS systems, which are like emergency core coolant systems, where these things, like, you should put this like video like in this podcast somewhere of like a simulated trip of a nuclear power plant. They can literally just walk away from the control panels and let it do its thing, and it'll shut itself down and start all these pumps and emergency coolant systems automatically. Like, diesels will start automatically.
Jesus.
Like, dude, like, when we do like a diesel start, sometimes they'll do like under voltage testing where like they simulate the bus, which a bus in like electrical terms is like the carrier of the electricity. They'll simulate that bus dropping under voltage, which will automatically start a diesel and cut us off from the grid. And we're on our own now because that under voltage condition could be the grid failing. Like, dude, like, these things are so over designed, and then we have 8 fucking diesels. Like, we don't need 8 diesels, but we have backup to our backups. Like, dude, like, it would be, if you pulled this off, you got it.
You deserved it. If you could pull it off, you deserve. But again, it's like, it's kind of like a catch-22. It's like, because if you were that dedicated and that it's smart and hardworking, then you can put that much effort into just, creating a company and retiring. That'd probably ease whatever manifesto you were writing, right? Get yourself a jacuzzi and some hookers, it's...
It'd be easier to like take a bomb to like New York Square than it would to do this, and it's just there's no our fence is too tall.
Exactly. So that being said, then it would definitely have to be a state sponsor, right? It wouldn't be a lone wolf. You would have to be state sponsor.
Yeah, but even then, we got security.
Yeah.
We have defenses against valves being mispositioned. Like if I go turn a valve on a emergency cool corn system, then all right, so like the whole thing is trust but verify.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to trust me, a qualified operator, to go turn that valve and position it the way that my piece of paper, my procedure tells me to turn it.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so you're trusting me that I did this correctly, and then you're going to get another guy, because it's on emergency coolant system, to come in and independently verify that I did it correctly. And we're both signing off that we did it. So it's like, say some rogue was going around mispositioning valves, like we're going to find it before something was to happen. Like it would take a massive undertaking and like mass negligence also on our part for something like that to occur. It's like we're put it this way too, we're a private company. If this was to happen, how bad is that for us?
Exactly. That's what I was going to say. It's not just like this shouldn't happen. It's also like, it's my fucking business.
Yeah, like, dude, like, you're
fucking with my cash now. Like,
yeah, nuclear power is like so safe, dude. It's ridiculous how safe it is. Like, and we've learned so much from operating. It's a good place. It's a good place.
I'm gonna have you be a regular guest, and just so we can start like a 10-year campaign of pro nuclear power. I'm being dead serious. I fucking hate the because anyone that doesn't want nuclear power, like, this isn't an opinion. This isn't a Democrat Republican thing. This is just like you're not educated, because if you knew the facts, you would go, oh, okay. Yeah, okay.
Like, people talk about nuclear waste, and this is a good topic because like people might want to hear about this. Like, spent fuel.
One sec. I'm going to turn on my laptop fans because it's getting kind of hot. Let me know if it gets too loud.
All right.
How's that?
Couldn't even hear anything.
Okay.
Change.
Beautiful.
So like, for like nuclear waste, like people talk about that, and like they're like, oh, the nuclear waste, like they think we're just dumping it into the ocean, like
dumping it in the playgrounds. Just
but that's what people think. Like oh, we're just disposing of nuclear waste. Like all our fuel that we've ever used in our core over the lifetime of our core is on site with us.
Yeah.
It's something called ISFC, which is like independent spent fuel storage isolation or something. I forget what it is, but it's like in these huge concrete boxes with all the core bundles in it. I forget how many, like maybe like 6 in it, and they have air cooling, and they have like a seal inside, so they're being cooled constantly. We monitor the temperatures on them. We have precautions that if one was to leak or something, it's still on our site. We didn't release anything. We would clean it up. It's not going anywhere. So all that spent fuel is in a very safe, protected, like security's protecting that area spot. And that goes for also all the nuclear plants that are currently running, is that they have the security, they have these ISFC pads protecting that nuclear waste. Then you go into things like, I'm a rad worker. I have radiation gloves on. I take them off. I drop them in a bucket. That's like a low-level radioactive item. That just sits in a barrel until radiation protection determined that it's no longer radioactive, and then it's disposed of like regular waste. It's no longer radioactive. Then there is things like solids and stuff that we can't keep on site, but we can't dispose of. Like you can't just let it decay. And at that point, it's in a secure cask and it's disposed of underground. And there's guidelines for this in the United States, like where it must be at a certain depth. It must be under a certain level of radiation. Nothing is just done willy-nilly. We're not dumping it in the river next to your house. There is none of that.
Yeah, it's not South Park where it's the sewer going out into the lake, and it's like the three-eyed fish. Like
you should have more worry about like a chemical plant in a city than you should a nuclear plant. Absolutely, because Nobody's really cares about them. Like, I'm sure they're being monitored every now and then, but your average nuclear plant, dude, we have so many government agencies and oversight committees coming in and looking at every nook and cranny every week that, like, we just do shit by the book. We do it 4-0, and we do it right. Yeah. And that's how it is. Like,
which is why we're going to start our 10-year-long campaign to jack up nuclear power. But you have to do it. It's like when you said, like, you know, it's kind of an old tech in the U.S., it just made me think, like, that is, like, not to get, like, a rage boner, because anyone can point out what's wrong in the world. That doesn't take a brain cell. It takes a brain cell to figure out how to fix it. But it's like the fact that nuclear power is, like, old-fashioned in the U.S., like, it's almost, like, infuriating. And it's like the future of, like nuclear power. It's literally like clean rooms and, like, guys in hazmat suits, and it's just, like, clean, silent. It's just, like, the future. And it's like, instead, it's like, but, you know, it's like, what if we took that fucking same, like, that, like, capitalist drive of that you see at, like, because if you go to, like, a brand new, like, oil refinery or the Shell FLNG, that shit is, like, you know, say what you will about the power and the fossil fuels, the technology is bleeding edge. It is the newest, most efficient. It's just the thing that we're doing with it isn't the newest, most efficient. Imagine if you took that same, just, like, bloodthirsty, like, drive that, you know, because fucking guys at the helms of those corporations, I mean, they're fucking wolves. Like, you know, that's the shit that leads to, like, invading Iraq, like Dick Cheney, Halliburton. What if we just took that and said, hey, eat your heart out, build nuclear?
Yeah, man. Like that thing I'm talking about, like the carbon tax and all that, like, make it competitive to build nuclear. Yes. And it's like, dude, you could have the Exxon Mobil of nuclear. Yeah, man. You could have it. What's gonna power Mars? It's gonna be nuclear. So we're not bringing propane tanks and propane accessories. We're not taking that to Mars, right? We're going solar and nuclear. Probably more nuclear, because if you have dust storms and you can't get your solar working, solar is cool. Like, wind's cool too, but, like, thing about nuclear is, like, we provide, like, the base load.
It's the big.
That's
dick.
it.
It's the big dick of power. It's
like, dude, I think we do, like, 20% of all the power in the United States. Like, hold on, I kind of want to fact check myself real quick. I'm pretty sure. Hold on, nuclear
power percentage, or you would know it too. I don't know why I'm telling you. You know it too.
Of generation percentages. I think that'll get us there.
Yeah. Power percentage, power production percentage.
Ah, here we go. Perfect. No, that's definitely not it. All right.
69.420.
What the fuck is this? Come on now, get me somewhere I can go to.
Take your time, it's fine. It's
there we go, 19.4.
Yeah, 20%.
This is 2013, and they have coal at, like, 39 and natural gas like 27. I would almost guess that those have inverted, and the natural gas took over even more than that. And renewables is at 2.9, which definitely went up.
Yeah.
Or 12.9. My phone is cracked as shit, but 12.9.
Yeah.
So it's like, even if you have, like, renewables are great. I love them.
Yeah, sure.
We installed solar panels at my school my senior year, and it was, like, pretty cool.
Yeah.
But like you said, like, dust storms can happen. They can get dirty. I don't know if you guys know this, but the sun is not always up for 24 hours a day.
Yeah.
And the window isn't always blowing. Although, like, I'm not trying to point out the negatives in, like, renewables. I'm trying to show that, like, we can have these great renewables with a baseload of nuclear power, and then have this, like, carbon-free generated world that's just clean, and like, we don't have to worry about power if we invest in these fossil fuel-free technologies. Yeah,
nuclear can be the training wheels, and solar and windmill and geothermal, that can be the kid trying out the bike. It's like, sure, let's try out these awesome, you know, these green, like, planet-friendly things. But if and when shit fails, Hurricane Katrina, 9/11, fucking coronavirus, make sure there's something that it's not like, well, if these go down, we're fucked. Make sure there is, the big heavy lifter, put the team on my back, like, make sure, and like that's what nuclear can be. But I know I keep bringing it up, but it's like, look where it matters, like, the most. It's almost like when the government shuts down, what doesn't shut down? The military, right? For the most part. It's like, so you can see, like, okay, where's the true power lie, right? So it's, again, we have, 11 or 13 aircraft carriers?
Something like that.
Yeah, nuclear powered. Why? Because it doesn't matter what's going on at home. We have these fuckers going around because these are American projection. Okay. Nuclear submarines. Okay. When we shoot something in 1972 that's going to leave the solar system, and we want to be, we fired off during the Nixon administration, and it's still contacting us. Is that right? Nixon 72? It's whatever. We don't. Oh, whatever. Fuck it. I don't know. Fact. It wasn't JFK. So, but if we send it off then, when Vietnam was still on the evening news, and it's still, albeit it's almost dead, but it's still beeping back to us, and it's farther. It's beyond Pluto. So all these things, aircraft carriers, nuclear submarines, spacecraft probes, and even the shit on Mars, the rovers on Mars, right? I don't think those are nuclear powered. I think they have some.
Probably, dude. Your smoke detectors are nuclear powered.
Yeah. It's is it a mercurium or is it
something like that? They have like a little nuclear cell in them,
yeah.
which keeps them running for lifetimes.
Yeah. But the point I'm getting at is so look where the power lies. Literally, look where the literal power lies when you have stuff that cannot shut down and needs to run forever on the minimum amount of physical mass. It's nuclear across the board.
Yeah, man, it's crazy because us and France probably are the most experienced nuclear operators. Like France, runs their country mostly on nuclear power,
badass.
And they're pretty cool. They have
shout out France.
Every reactor in France is designed the same. So it's like if you're a licensed operator there, you can go work at another plant because you don't have to learn anything new. Like if I was to go from my plant and work on something with a different design, I would have to relearn. I would have to physically go through that training process again to be qualified to work there. So, but even then, it pretty much all be the same. It'd kind of just be running through the motions and making sure I'm getting the qualification process. But France and the United States, we're the most experienced in doing it, and it's odd to not see us, taking advantage of that experience.
Yeah, it does. They're almost at not a conspiracy at all, but realistic. There has to be a reason why we're not. And I don't think it's public
it's just
backlash.
Money, fossil fuel money, dude. It's cheaper.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't think it's public backlash because as much as the public might not want nuclear power, when someone in power really wants something, we don't give a fuck.
Yeah,
we're building this new bomb. We're building these new stealth bombers. We're doing that. We're going to go drill here. We don't give a fuck. At the end of the day, the protesting hippies get bulldozed, and that's just the reality. Like it or not, that's what happens. So there has to be a reason why we're not doing it. And yeah, it's that sweet fossil fuel money. But nuclear money can be that and more, and with no dependence on anyone else. Do you think that there has to be a government incentive for it to happen? Because it almost seems like if someone could just kickstart it, it's like fire and forget. It's like if we could just make it financially appetizing to start nuclear power plants en masse. I feel like it could almost go on its own. What do you think? Do you think that's the way to go?
Yeah, we talked about this earlier. There has to be a reason there has to be an incentive where building a fossil fuel plant will no longer be financially appetizing, where it's like, all right, I'm going to have to pay a tax every year or every gallon of fuel I buy. I'm going to have to pay a tax on that. At that point, it's like, well, why would I want to do that? And then you also, you could do it both ways. You could put a tax on just buying a fuel, and then you could put a tax on emitting NOx, like nitrous oxides, like sulfurs. You could put a tax on that too.
What if
a lot of places have especially during Obama's administration, there was restrictions on the emissions that you could put out of a power plant. And a lot of these places just starting adopted scrubbers, which basically clean the air prior to it leaving your emissions or your site basically. And and that costs them a lot of money. They have to put chemicals in and like ammonias and stuff to kill off these chemicals, and that costs them money. But even that, like, you still didn't make them defer from doing what they're doing. You just added a little bit of cost, and it's still more profitable to do that than stopping. And you can't just immediately like throw up the flag and say, you guys are done, that's it. Like, you have to wean them off it. But like, I haven't seen anything nationally that, besides what Obama did, he kind of tried to do that slowly, but you have to stop. You have to make them stop somehow.
So is the move not taxing those so much as, because it seems like we always just find a way around it. It's like I think Doug Trussell, the comedian, was like, you know, you can only put up so many barriers, but he's like a monkey with a Rubik's Cube, like, we'll figure it out. You know, it took 200 years to figure out how to buy off like senators, but we figured it out. It's like, you know, whether it's moving stuff offshore or paying off inspectors or finding loopholes with the scrubbers, like, we'll find a way. So it almost seems like the way isn't to jack up taxes on those so much as it's to just like don't tax those and not tax nuclear. Literally make it like, you know, almost like a federal matching program. Like, they'll match you dollar for dollar because that will do it. You can tax something so long, but eventually it's like those luxury taxes, I think, in the MLB, where you have to pay above a certain cap.
They still do it.
Yeah, Yankees are just like, I don't give a fuck. Like, I'll pay that because if it means I can sign A-Rod for another 10 years, I don't give a fuck. It seems like that's not the way, so much as it's like, all right, you know, you don't pay taxes for a decade if you build this nuclear power plant or something.
Yeah, there's things like energy. Certain states have introduced like energy credits, where it's like if you're a zero carbon emitting energy producer, then you get a credit. Basically, like when you sell a megawatt, you'll get additional money for not producing it with carbon. Like there's a way to go with that, and then it's maybe you're not as competitive to build, but with the energy credit, your price per megawatt just increased, and your cost per megawatt is cheaper than a gas plant because they're getting the energy credit. Like, there is things like that, and then they're incentivized to build renewables because that's what's making more money. There has to be something to give people the incentive to do that. Yeah. There does.
Yeah. And not only that, I mean, you'd have to, because I'm more of the, like, don't punish someone for doing this so much as reward that. Don't be like, you dipshit. Yeah. Don't be like, you dipshit, you failed your OChem test. Be like, yo, if you get a B+ on your OChem test, like, I'll buy the beer this weekend. That's how you get people to be like, okay, how the fuck do I get a B+? As opposed to, like, I don't want them to punch me in the dick if I get a D, right? It's like, how do we dump incentive onto nuclear? I don't know.
It's complicated. It's like state by state, it's different. Like, for power generation, at least, they have to, it's really controlled by the state and not the federal level. So it's like each state will have a governing body which controls their transmission sales, basically. Like, there's all these interconnections that a plant will kind of sell their electricity to that interconnection or give it to them, and then they distribute it, and then they pay that interconnection, and then by that you're paid back. Like, it's very, dude, the energy, how energy is sold, transmitted, and created is like
a web.
Yeah, dude, it's wild, man. And then these interconnections go from like state to state. So like, you might have like 3 different laws in this state, but then different laws in this state, and then like, but you're still connected. So even if they don't affect you, they affect you because the electricity is shared in that interconnection. It's wild. It's really wild. You should try to find someone that could come on here that works in like the transmission field.
Yeah, because if you could master transmission, I feel like that could, again, from my completely uneducated, like, you know, armchair, you know, politician, like, let me tell you how to run society. But let's just go with that for a second. If you could Because what's the problem with transmission? Is it loss of power over distance?
Yeah, but they kind of found their way around that. Like copper isn't as good as transmitting over a longer distance as like aluminum. So a lot of the power lines are aluminum. And then there's like voltage losses for distance. So but also it's weird. If you jack up the voltage and lower the amps, transmission losses diminish. But it's difficult. It's transmission isn't really the problem. Like we're pretty fucking good at that. Like we're connected to Canada through grids.
So that's not the problem, right?
Yeah, the problem isn't like the transmission of it. It's like the people saying, all right, well, where's my money? That's the problem of it. There's a lot of problems, and it's like the states wanting their control over it, and the states giving credits to these people but not these people, and then who falls under this blanket, not that blanket. And like you're saying, like the argument of, do we reward or do we diminish? Like there's a lot to be figured out on how to reward certain generation or how not to harm. There's a lot going on and a lot to be figured out still.
So I always plug it because it's my favorite book, Raven Rock by Garrett Graff. It's all about nuclear bunkers from like FDR till present day, and like the massive relocation arc and how insane these things are. I mean, everyone knows about like NORAD and Mount Weather.
Yeah.
There's hundreds. I didn't know that. There are hundreds. They call it the relocation arc because it's just a swath from like 5 to 100 miles out from DC in this big like C shape. So it's anywhere you are, you can duck down. But they're going into like, and they're not just like staying on the drawing board. Like we actually built these things, these massive complexes deep in mountains and way underground. One of the plans was for something called DUCC, like suck, S-U-C-C. It was called DUCC, D-U-C-C, the Deep Underground Command Center, and it was going to be 3,600 feet directly below the Pentagon. 3,600 feet. And from, mind you, the original World Trade Centers were 1,350 feet. So stack both of those on top of each other, throw the Empire State Building on top, that far underground. And we wanted to build something that had equal square footage of the Pentagon, but just 3,600 feet below ground. And there would be an express elevator, and this thing could take direct hits of up to 300 megatons. The biggest nuclear bomb ever exploded was the Tsar bomb at 56 megatons. The one dropped on Hiroshima was 1/3,000th the power of the Tsar bomba. These things were rated, the DUCC was rated to take something 6 times stronger than the Tsar bomba. Point being, this was proposed under the Kennedy administration and was scrapped under LBJ. All that leading up to this. So if we had these things like planned out and drawn out and designed to do in a feasible time, in a realistic time frame, what if you took something like that and you put it somewhere like in the Great Plains and just dropped it a mile down, and you just built the biggest fucking nuclear power plant in that anyone could imagine, and literally put it in such a place that if you can protect it from nuclear blasts, that means you can also you can make it so isolated that nothing's going to seep out if shit goes wrong. What if you just made like a fucking like 100, like a terawatt sized nuclear power plant in the middle of the U.S. and just transmitted shit out?
It's kind of like
the Manhattan Project of energy independence.
So like, I don't want to say that's where they're going, because like when people talk about the future of nuclear, it's they're going smaller, and they're building these things or they're researching these things called small modular reactors, and it's they're basically the idea is that you can build these things anywhere. They're very small. They produce a small amount of power, and they're passive. So it's like if everyone just walked away from it, they would shut themselves down and run themselves in a shutdown state. And they're also supposed to have like fail safes where like I'm not too researched on it, but to the point of where if everything did shut down, it would shut itself down passively. But what they're going to is, instead of having these massively staffed, massively protected plants, they're going to build these small things everywhere that are protected, but just very small enough for that area's needs. And And I really think that's where it will go. And then they'll be a lot cheaper too. Like this tech I was talking about, how it's so old. If you're building like that old tech now, like it is going to be expensive. But if you're building these small things that are cheaper, don't require as much staff, they can become a lot more competitive. And then once they build a few of them, they'll become a lot better at it and it'll be cheaper. That's where I think it will go, is in the future with these small modular reactors.
Now, what about security around those, though?
They'll still have security and they'll still be fenced in. You'll still have to do the same things. As far as I know, you'll still have to do the same things that I do to get into them.
Yeah.
But just like, dude, like a plant can have anywhere between like 400 and 800 people on site at once, like staffing there all the time. Like these things you'd be talking about like less than 100.
Yeah.
And that also brings your cost down. Brings it down big time.
Is the power... Is it going to produce? So let's say you have 500 at a big. Let's say you have 1,000 at a big plant, and you have 100 at one of these little plants. So 10%. Does it produce 10% of the power, or is it way less than that? Like, what's the efficiency? Are these things only producing 1% of the relative power?
Let's look it up.
Yeah.
SMR power generation.
Because
these things, let's say like a regular nuclear plant makes like 1,200 megawatts.
Okay.
Some larger, and this is just from Wikipedia, some larger SMRs require significant more on-site construction, such as the 440 megawatt electric 3-loop Rolls-Royce SMR, which targets a 500-day construction time. That's small. That's a very small construction time for a 440 megawatt electric plant. So that's a really short, like I just said, that's a really short amount of time. And 440 megawatts, that's no small plant.
Yeah.
Now, as far as like the staffing for that, I'm not exactly sure, but if you can build these things quickly, have less staffing, and still produce a good amount of electricity, and then just have a bunch of them, that's where it should be going, instead of having these huge staffing needs and these. That's really what it comes down to, is staffing too. But get this construction time down. That could be more. That could make it more attractive.
Now, would you start to get almost like an economies, if we go back to my stupid mega plant, right? Could you get to like a point where does the staff required scale up linearly, but the power produced goes up exponentially? Like, would you need, if this super duper plant in the middle of Montana, a mile down, let's say that produced 1,000 times what your plant produces, just this mega plant, does that require 1,000 times as many staff? Or could you scale up was it not just like, okay, your plant has 4 reactors, this new one's going to have 4,000 reactors? Could the new one still have 4 reactors and they're just scaled up, like they're just fucking monsters, behemoths, and still only require as many people as yours does?
Maybe. I mean, you're also talking about the middle of Montana. Think about this. There's not that many power users in the middle of Montana.
Well, this is where it would be transmitted across the United States.
And then you would have losses throughout the transmission and distance. Like these SMRs, they're around, you could put them around populations closer.
Yeah.
You wouldn't need as many staffing. If you scaled it up to like what you're talking about, and like the construction cost of that would be literally massive.
It'd be like $1 trillion.
Yeah, like literally massive. And then you're also relying on one plant, or I guess 4 plants, 1 location. Like that's a risk in and of itself if you think about it.
Yeah.
So I don't know if like centralizing something like that would be attractive, where if you can make it the individual builder with a small build time, small staffing requirements, that seems a little bit more, to me, I could be wrong, but that seems more attractive than having this gigantic mega project in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
That to me would be the more attractive option.
Yeah. Yeah. My argument for my super big stupid plant would be, it would be designed in the same way that we were planning on designing something like NORAD or Mount Weather, where it's like, it's a singular location, but it's like, it's a singular location that can literally take direct hits from nukes. Like, it's one link in the chain, but this chain's made out of goddamn diamonds. Like, you know, it's
that would have to be like a government sponsored.
Oh yeah, that's what it would
plane.
be. That's what it would be. It would, but again, if you can't tell, that's also just like my draw to like the fantastic. Like, it has to be the biggest ever.
Like the grand.
Yeah, it's literally like delusion. Like, that's why I'm not in charge of nuclear power. Yeah, my only thing is, like, if there are smaller nuclear power plants, I feel like that would be easier. So let's just look at it from a warfare tactic. If I simultaneously hit 10 of these things all over the country, say I'm China or Russia, imagine 10 of these getting hit at once, all the alarms coming up. Oh fuck, this is all happening now.
Yeah.
You can't send a massive response team because there's 10 of them. If, you know, I go barging into your place rolling tanks, well, I'm going to be met with tanks in a short period of time. What about that? If there's hundreds of these little guys all around the country.
I don't know. I feel like at that point we got bigger problems.
Probably.
But, yeah, like if there's tanks,
it's probably bigger
might
problems.
Have a
it's probably
bigger problem in securing
the nation. It's probably like, hey man, go underground to these deep underground command centers, because if that's happening, sky's falling.
Yeah. I don't know. It's the idea of like they have the science down to where like they can just step away from the controls and it shuts itself down.
Because that's not how it's always been, right?
What?
That's not how it's always been, right?
No, like even like I said, my plant, we could walk away from the controls, something could happen. It'll scram, which is like a term for rods insert. We have our moderator in place. We're down to like 2% power, but we still have to do certain things to maintain that decay heat from building. But for like in a day, it'll keep running itself. But if you want to talk about like in a year, will it keep running itself? I don't know. These new plants, these SMRs are supposed to be where like if literally everyone died, they would just shut down and there could be no reaction.
That's awesome. So those definitely went out versus my mega.
Yeah, your mega plant, I would be scared. I wouldn't want to be the one who's building that either, because you also have to think that that's like a one of a kind thing
that there's no precedent for.
Yeah, like you can't get it wrong. You can literally get part of it wrong.
You can't learn on the job.
Yeah, like this, like these things are like supposed to be scalable. Like they're supposed to be okay. Like we found our inefficiencies, we fixed them, we figured out how to build them cheaper, and we found out how to staff them lower. Like I think that's the beauty behind them, is that they're the build time, the staffing needs are just getting smaller, and they can, you have an opportunity to learn from your mistakes, because it doesn't cost that huge amount of money to build it the first time, and then you're like, oh shit, we did it backwards. Like
it's almost like if you could get like nuclear power plants to like almost like franchising, like McDonald's, it'd be like, this is how it's done. This is how it's been done 10,000 times. This is what we've learned. To you, Kevin. Anyway, dude. So, what is the future of nuclear power? Do you know anything about that? And is it nuclear fusion as opposed to fission or cold
there's
fusion?
like,
I'm having someone come on to talk about fusion next week.
I'm not going to pretend I know really anything about that, but like I know there is a lot of research going into it, and I think from what I know, the biggest holdback that we have on that isn't the nuclear technology, because I'm sure we could run a simulation and do it perfectly. But from what I know, it's the material science being able to withstand, like we do not have the materials developed to be able to withstand that heat in that amount of small space.
Yeah.
Like that, from what I know, that's the holdback. Is that like you have to literally control like a sun in like a 2x2 cube and keep it there, and then have everything around it withstand that amount of heat and pressure. That's from what I know, that's the challenge of it. But I mean, we invented the telephone when, and then we sent someone to the moon. How much longer later? Like it's
a matter of time.
You never know. I mean, could I say that's the future? It could be. Maybe if we develop it, but for like right now and like the next 10 years, the future is these SMRs that I'm talking about. Like,
Okay.
there are already plans developed for. I looked it up on a break. Like Rolls-Royce has that one I was talking about, that 441. I looked up to the Tennessee Valley Authority, which is Tennessee's, I guess, like state electric department. Apparently was approved for a SMR in their area. So like as where it's going right now, it should be these small modular reactors with low build costs and low staffing requirements. But in the future, dude, I don't really know any businesses that are doing it, but I know that they are for fusion technology.
Yeah.
It's that would be really fucking interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'd want to work there.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Is like if one of those goes wrong, it's just like, what? It's that's going to turn into a sun, right? That's just gonna eat the world.
Like we have like all these safety systems, but like I don't know. They would have to design safety systems for them and like how to properly shut them down.
Yeah.
And do it. Like it's a whole like proof of concept and then like proof of continued operation are like different things. Like very different things.
You'd almost want that like constructed on Mars.
Yeah. Like, I don't know if I want that. That's one thing where I'd be like, I don't want that in my backyard.
I don't want that on my planet because, like, what happens when that thing fucks up, right?
Dude, like you know, like the Hadron Collider that they have in where is it, Switzerland or whatever, Sweden?
Yeah.
Yeah, like that
CERN.
thing. Like I remember people were saying like when that thing was first developed, they're like, well, what if you make a black hole? Like.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Do you remember? Do you remember that guy that broke in?
A black hole.
Do you remember that guy that
broke in?
Someone broke in like right when it was made. And he was dressed like a fucking like comic book character or something. I'm probably getting this wrong, but I think he had on like leather wings, like goggles, and like a pink skirt or something. And he was like, "I'm from the future." He's like, "Shut it down." I think he was just like a paranoid schizophrenic or something. But like, it was the ultimate just a prank, bro. But yeah, I remember right when it came out, it was someone went in there like, "I'm from the future. Please, don't build this." Yeah.
Oh, dude. Well, what if he was from the future?
I guess we won't know.
Yeah, we just locked him away, and
he's like our times, like Galileo or like Einstein. Like the future will not smile upon us.
Far behead genius in the past, trying to warn us of all them electrons colliding, and we threw him in a jail cell and told him he's crazy.
We called him crazy. They called me a madman. Yeah, dude. I remember I was in like high school. And like we were working over the summer and we were learning about this and we were like, fuck, is this going to create black holes? And it was just like, we're like, let's just not think about it. Like that was our tactic. It was just...
Yeah, they know what they're doing. You got to trust the people that are operating it and doing it in science and then proof of concept.
Yeah.
They know what they're doing.
Yeah.
I hope.
And if they don't, no one does. Like if they don't know, no one does. It's... Yeah, it's... But I think they did something as like sort of like a gag, like it's just kind of like I guess the employees there fucking around, and they got this like big Shiva statue.
No, dude, that's their statue. That's their that's like the thing that they have out front of their entrance or whatever is that statue.
It's like Shiva, but maybe the gag was all like some employees put on like hoods. Did you see that? This was back in like 2012 or 2013. They all put on hoods and had like candles around at night. And I think it was probably just like them fucking around. But someone just so happened to be like trying to break in that night and they recorded it. So now it looks like here's something that we weren't supposed to see. And it's like all these guys in hoods like chanting demonic Latin like backwards like around Shiva on top of the fucking black hole generator. And it's like these motherfuckers are trying to bring like the Antichrist through like a portal. Like,
oh, dude, yeah, I don't know. It's all like crazy science. It's like, what is this bringing us to? Like, what are they really figuring out there?
Yeah,
like, you know, like I don't know.
Yeah.
I have no idea. I couldn't even tell you what the purpose of that place is.
Yeah, like, it seems like it's because like whatever we're discovering there, is there like an application, or is it we're just like making the textbooks better? Because
that's the thing. I don't know.
Like, and I don't mean it like a conspiratorial sense. I just mean like does this hold geopolitical weight? Like, can you I don't know why I just said weight so loudly. Geopolitical weight. Like, does this have the potential to be a weapon? Is it the future of energy generation and energy independence? Like, because it's like a 5-mile diameter ring.
Yeah.
Underground that cost a ton of money. It seems like there's more to that than just
shit into each other
at light speed. I feel like there's more to it than just like, oh, now we can fine hone the textbooks, right? Like, or maybe that is what they're doing, and like that's the future. It's like, no, we just want to find out more about the world. I mean, that's the ultimate idyllic, peaceful future, where it's like,
yeah, that's pretty. To think about it in like the most like altruistic way, like that'd be pretty cool if it was just like to learn, like pure knowledge. I mean, I'm sure there will be ways to make money that come of that thing. I'm sure there already has, like, but yeah, I know for a fact, like the R&D that went into that, and like this is also like the material science that had to go in to be able to like withstand that. Like that's a development that continued.
Okay.
And then like making like things like this, dude, like having like building something like that, and then having the infrastructure behind it to support the materials for that, like that's an advancement. Is because now you have, like, we'll put it back to the coronavirus, like all these people that like now need ventilators and stuff. You have this battle between, all right, we can scale up production for ventilators for 2 months, but now what happens after we dedicate all these resources to building ventilators, after this crisis is over? Now we just have all these ventilators being produced. Like, for like, how far do we tip the scale to production here to when our demand is going to fall off? You know what I mean? Like, like putting these things into practice, like these, this is perfect to talk about your idea of your mega factory nuclear plant. Like, you would have all these things producing it for 5 years, 10 years, and all of a sudden it's produced, and all these lines of production just fall down. Yeah. And they no longer have the need to build it. Or instead, we have these SMRs that are being built constantly across the United States, and we have these production lines for years that keep having demand, and like parts break, so they keep having to build new parts. Like, having that constant need for new production, that's a good thing.
Yeah. I mean, that's what Dwight Eisenhower's warning about the military-industrial complex wasn't even like the size of the military. It's just like, he was like, you can't shut down these production lines, because like if war comes and all of a sudden, you know, we go from making 2 Abrams tanks a month to now we need to make 200. He's like, you can't be like, okay, call everyone back to work, start building plants. He's like, because the bombers might already be overhead. Like, you need these produced today. So that's what his warning about the military-industrial complex was. It's like, once you start these plants, he's like, you can't shut them down, because your weapon is no longer a viable weapon if you can't produce. Like, it doesn't matter if like, you don't just build 100 F-22s and then say like, there we go, we got them. It's like, well, no. What happens when war comes and you need 500 more? Or what happens when there's not war but one of them crashes and you got to plug the gap? You got to have these production lines. You can't just go, okay, well, now we got to build a factory and got to hire all these educated engineers. No, you have to have it. It never shuts down. So like, that's why we continue to produce tanks and fighter jets. And it's like, well, why are we making all those? It's like, because you can't shut them down. Because if you shut them down, you're fucked.
Nuclear is pretty expensive right now to produce too, because of that. Like, we have aging plants, but you have like new fossil fuel plants. So it's like all these private companies that sell to us, that like, you know, sell us pumps, sell us motors and stuff. They might only make one condensate pump for a nuclear plant. They might make like 4 a year for nuclear plants, but they might make like 1,000 for fossil fuel plants. And then for nuclear plants, we're special. We have to have everything what's called Q, which means like you have to be able to trace like the metals back from where it was mined to where it was transported. So it's like our cost is like 4 times as much, and they're not making as many. So like it costs us exponentially more than a fossil fuel plant. So like I kind of came to my own realization here. These SMRs, by having like so many small ones and then like having the production focused on them, that really should be the future, and that's where it could go.
Yeah, well, God damn it, let's start our SMR campaign.
Yeah, and I think we're there. Yeah. That's where we need to be.
That's where then Tommy's podcast will now officially endorse SMRs.
Yeah, man.
We'll sow the seeds into the public consciousness. But yeah, you have to keep those supply lines open, and but it's almost like the military industrial complex, the supply lines, like it's so vital you keep them open, because if shit hits the fan, they have to be open. And them existing and being open, that their existence alone could act as a deterrent against shit hitting the fan. Because if someone's looking at satellite photos of the U.S. and it's like, nope, they got their F-22 plants fully staffed, like, okay, so they only have 100, but if we go fuck shit up, they're going to be producing 1,000 within a week. Like, that acts as a deterrence. What do you think it's going to be like with, I guess, kind of like, the coronavirus, like, produce all these ventilators, but it's like, are we going to jack up our ability to go from producing 100 a year to producing 110 million a year?
Yeah,
what are we going to do? Yeah, what are we going to do after coronavirus goes away and all of a sudden it's like...
dedicate too much to it?
Ventilators are us. But at the same time, it's like, is there any room to say, like, well, what are we doing in 10 years? It's like, because if we don't do this, like, there might not be 10 years, right?
Well, yeah, maybe we do what the nuclear industry did, and we learn from this, and we make storage facilities for all this emergency equipment, and we keep them stored in different parts of the United States in bunkers. So if we did ever have an outbreak, guess what? We can fly these to hospitals around the United States, and there's no issues. Yeah. Like so maybe with the excess production that, from what I've heard, we're getting now, maybe someone has the wherewithal to say, hey, let's make excess, store them, so we are prepared for the next event.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah. Well, then we're going to start getting some awesome conspiracies, because the next pandemic, it's going to be like, oh, this was made by Big Respirator. like 9/11 was Big Oil. This is big respirators behind coronavirus. They had to have someone, the greedy respirator barons. I mean, it's going to be weird, though, because I saw Trump said today, maybe it was yesterday, but he said Ford and Tesla are actually going to start producing the pieces for the respirators, because they have the manufacturing capabilities, and it's like it takes a lot less for them to shift their production lines than it does to build entire plants based around respirators. It's almost like the World War II tactic, like FDR being like, you're not making Model Ts anymore, you're making tanks. It took a lot less like shifting. Like, okay, well, it's still, you have metal workers, you still have guys that 12 hours a day rivet shit. You're just not making Model Ts anymore. Now you're making Shermans, right?
Yeah, I wonder if like people are buying less cars too, so they're like, yeah, we'll volunteer.
Yeah. We'll volunteer. Well, that's what I said yesterday to the doctor. We were talking about it. We're like, maybe we should be like crowdfunding, like building like hospitals and respirators, not even out of just altruism. Because all these other companies, like, they might be willing to throw in $1 billion, and it's to them, it's not, hey, we're throwing away $1 billion. It's throwing away $1 billion because right now sales are down $10 billion, right? Yeah. So it could just be like, hey, we'll volunteer, because it's like, well, no one's buying anything anyway, and if they were, well, how are you shipping them? No one can ship anything. So yeah, it's in everyone's interest to figure this the fuck out and get it over with, because you can't sell shit, right? You can't sell anything.
Yeah, it might make. Hopefully, it makes us more prepared for the future, for future things like this outbreaks. Like, I don't know. I don't want to get political on this, but like Trump cut like the pandemic staff like 2 years ago, and then tried to. I don't think he ever did, but like he tried to defund the CDC like 3 times.
God damn it!
And it's like, dude, like this couldn't have been worse, kind of.
Yeah. Hey, man. Well, fuck. I mean, well, then hopefully we can goddamn learn from it. Be like, hey, the next 100 presidents, don't cut the pandemic team, because it will happen. It's what can go wrong will go wrong. It's, man. It's, I don't know. I'll let you go if you want. I see you're yawning. I don't want to keep you going on if you're tired.
Dude, I'm just tired.
No, you're fine. Well, I don't want to keep you on if you're tired, dude.
Well, Harry, do you have any other topics you want to touch on?
Aliens and UFOs.
Yeah.
What do you know about aliens and UFOs, Kevin?
I would do like 15 minutes of that. You want to do that?
Do you want to do 15 minutes aliens and UFOs? I'll do it.
Yeah.
All right.
I want to find out how you're going to segue this. To
me too. I don't even know how I'm going to do this either, but fuck it. Let's try it.
Yeah, man.
If we got to deal with coronavirus, maybe because we do know for a fact that we always have classified shit. Skunk Works by Ben Rich, the head of Lockheed Martin during the 80s and 90s, he wrote a memoir, Skunk Works, and it talks about the shit we had in like the 50s and 60s was like cutting edge in like the 90s. So you got to think whatever. Yeah, and I'm seeing how I go with this too, but you got to think there's got to be some classified something that kind of like Tesla and Ford, you know, it's like they're meant to make cars, but with a couple tweaks they can start making respirator parts. There's got to be a military application. Well, there's definitely a military application to whatever we have that is, and no conspiracy, but I mean literal like classified work, Skunk Works. I think Boeing has Phantom Works. Like we have these things. We have classified, secret, top secret, ESI, extremely sensitive intelligence, and then SAP, Special Access Program. That's the top. We have these things that we clearly have, and we have manufacturing plants for them. Stuff that like produces the B-2 bomber, the B-21 Raider, the successor to the B-2. That is a Special Access Program. You can't get anything about that, and it's advanced as fuck. I know because I called Northrop Grumman and tried to get someone to come on my podcast, and the lady told me, she said, don't talk about that over the phone. I said, okay, and she said no. So I know, but all that being said, we clearly have the ability to, maybe it's not even, let's say it's the stealth technology on the B-21 Raider. It might not even be that there is something on the B-21 Raider that we could use for coronavirus so much as whatever machining we have, whatever skilled individuals we have, and whatever material science we have that is classified, that could be so advanced that it's like, oh shit, like we could definitely use this to like mass produce respirators in like 10 seconds. Like, I don't know, maybe they have some super advanced 3D printer. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe there's something classified as fuck that it's like, is there a way we could use this to fight coronavirus? It's because we can't produce, you know, it's in their interest. We can't get anyone to build planes if everyone's self-quarantined. And maybe that comes down to they got to declassify whatever's at Area 51.
And get it done.
Yeah.
You ever seen 2001: A Space Odyssey, man?
Yeah.
So I'll preface this with this. Before I worked at a nuclear power plant and got drug tested, me and my friends watched that first time on shrooms, dude. Yeah. Holy shit.
Yeah. Dude, I had read the book, but I watched it on like an edible, like probably around a year ago. And it was like, I was like, this is how it happens.
Yeah, like something like that, like that spark. You're from monkeys to...
Yeah, it's the what is it, the spear, the throwing the thing, and it's like, oh, maybe this is it. Maybe the UFO, man. Maybe it's the saucer out there. It's like, it's the cure to coronavirus.
Maybe if it got too bad, they would like actually declassify. That's the thing, though. Like maybe
how bad would it have to get?
And what do they already have? Like, is it a biological weapon defense? You know, like, is it something like that where they kind of have ready that they could roll out? Okay. Like, it would have to be along that lines, right? Like a biological weapon defense.
Yeah, it would have to be something like we've had this planned for like continuity of like all those bunkers. Like we planned for the end of the world to be nuclear, but in the 90s we realized it might be biological. So we've planned whatever the equivalent is, like. Would it be some sort of like laser that you could just like scan yourself with, and it destroys any foreign bodies or something? Like, and what would you do? Maybe you could like scan whole cities at once or something. But it's like, I don't fucking know, man.
I don't know.
I'm just fucking dude. We could use some shrooms for this podcast, dude. I've had on the author of the Drug User's Bible. It's this guy in like Britain, I think, Dominic Milton Trott. And we talked about like psycho, but I messaged him the other day because he was going to do an episode this week, but he was like, I can't do one because he's like, I'm going on like one of my adventures,
wow.
Like South America, right? But then he messaged me, go do some ayahuasca or something. But then he messaged me and was like, all the flights are canceled, like the world's shutting down. And I was like, what better time to get everyone to start doing shrooms to realize like, hey man, we got to make some changes to society, like because we got shut down. It's like a meme. Like, what would win? An entire global economy or, like, one tiny virus boy? Like, man.
Shit, dude, I had my 7 days off, and typically I'm look forward to going out to bars, and now I'm like sitting here doing nothing.
Yeah,
I'm
now
like,
you're doing a shitty podcast. Yeah.
No, I was actually, I could have went to my friend's house last night and like got banged up with a couple of my friends hanging out there, and I was like, kind of like, dude, you know what? I always wake up like feeling like shit. I got 7 days off. I'm gonna like enjoy my Sunday, do the podcast, like I'm gonna have like fun with it. So
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's not too bad that we're all shut down. I don't really care. I can still do the things I want. I got you can't see it, but I got my 2 monitors here. I got my computer here. I still got my internet. So it's like I'm still fine.
Yeah, dude. So I had like a shitty like Xbox 360. I went and bought like a used one at GameStop like a month ago. Because like I said, I like to listen to audiobooks while I play. It's the only way I can like learn is I have to be playing video games. But it fucking, to no surprise, it like overheated and stopped working in like a week. It was a used 360 from like 2005. And I was like,
yeah, that thing's been in the closet for a while.
Yeah, I was like, it was like $40, and I was like, I was kind of expecting it. So I went to, and luckily for me, I bought the $2 like warranty. So
shit.
I was like, fuck yeah, and I was like, I never buy warranties. So I like drove back to, this was on like Tuesday of last week, and I was like, went over to GameStop and I was like, hey man, like 360 shut down, and was like, it's fine, like I don't give a shit, like I'm not here to like complain. I was like, can I just get another one? I was like, because like the quarantine, like there's gonna be like a quarantine coming, and I need like an Xbox or something, or I'm gonna blow my fucking head off.
Did you see GameStop try to declare themselves essential? Like, no, seriously, hold on, pull it up. All
right, yeah, pull it up. Oh, but so anyway, I went to GameStop and
Jamie, pull this up.
Yeah, Jamie, yeah, young Kevin, pull this up. So, dude,
you gotta get a Jamie.
Dude, I'm gonna hire you. Do you want to be my young Jamie? You can be young Kevin. Yeah.
But here, hold on, ready? I don't have the original article, but here's the one. GameStop will close all of its storefronts starting Sunday following outcry from employees and calls from lawmakers to stay at home from the coronavirus outbreak. At first, they tried to declare that GameStop was an essential business.
Hey, man, it might be just to keep the masses calm. But
no, dude, you want to keep the masses calm. Do what people did and keep beer stores open.
Yeah, that is true. But so I went to GameStop, right? And I was like, hey, man, I could shut down, like... And he was like, yeah, no. And he was like, went back in the back room, was like, so I can't find like another used 360. You know, I'm just like, I was thinking like, dude, I'll buy a new one. Just give me like the difference or something.
Yeah.
But he was more like, so like I have to honor this because it's a warranty. Yeah. And I was just like, yeah, like, and I was just kind of expecting to be told to like go home. And he was like, no, man, we don't have any 360s. And he was like, and we're not getting any because like all the supply lines are shut down. I was like, motherfucker. And he was just like looking at things and he was like, well, there's kind of like a perfect storm. And I was like, why? He was like, the only thing we have are brand new Xbox One X's. And I was like, yeah, I know. I was like, but I'm not trying to drop $500 on a 1 terabyte. And he was like, he went to like check something and he was like, no, technically I have to do this. So like, here you go, bud. So I got a brand new Xbox One X for the price of a used 360.
Oh, dude, that's badass.
1,000% for just free. Well, $40 and the $2 warranty. And I was like, do I need to bring in like the old 360? He's like, nah, man. He's like, we're gonna be like closing. And I was like, so I fucking went over to Walmart, got a couple Xbox One X enhanced games, like bumped up to 4K because I have a 4K TV. Dude, I've been fucking rocking out during this pandemic. I've been at home just like doing podcasts in the morning and just, yeah, dude, I got a fucking 4K TV. I'm playing like Just Cause 4 on it. I'm just like, fuck yeah.
Oh, dude, that's a beautiful game, man.
It's amazing, yeah. It's not as
fun
It's not
even
as 3.
fun. But
no,
like,
it is fun.
It's fun.
Dude, it can't hold a fucking candle to Just Cause 3. I love Just Cause
game.
3. Do you play PC? Do you game on PC?
Yeah, I started as like a console gamer, and then
I need to bump up to the master race. I need to.
Dude, it's better. Like I was always a console gamer, and then like my brother had a computer, but it was like shitty, and like he would always play like San Andreas multiplayer, GTA San Andreas. Yeah. It was like a multiplayer mod.
Oh fuck!
And it was like servers with like 200 people, and like you would like role play like you're a cop, and like you would get like hard, like you had a name and all this shit. So like awesome. I did that for a while. Then I started playing like different games. Like I'm into like, I wish I could just show you a screenshot of my Steam library, but I'm into like 4X games, like Stellaris. I'm actually just gonna pull it up and read off this real quick. Hold on. There we go. Oh yeah, like Endless Space, Stellaris, I got GTA 6 or 5. Excuse me.
What the fuck do you have? You have GTA?
Yeah, I got the alien tech.
Yeah, I was like, fuck you. That's what you guys have at the nuclear. Yeah, yeah.
All
What
the
else do you
Sid
have?
Meier's, the Total War series, like
Fuck
all that
yeah.
stuff I like. But then I play like Rocket League, League of Legends,
Yeah.
like that type of shit.
Dude, I need to get a PC rig.
Oh, it's
Is it the way to go?
Yeah, dude. Like, honestly, when I first got my job, like I didn't have that much money, but I was like, all right, I'm gonna be making a lot of money, so I was like, all right, I'm just gonna get like a credit card with 0% APR, and I don't recommend doing this unless you know what you're doing. And I just like carried a balance each month of paying it off. But so I was still building credit. I wasn't taking an interest hit. And then I paid it off completely over like 6 months. And I basically got it for interest free and built credit. And I was like, this is banging. Now I have my like $2,000 rig. I paid off over like 6 months.
Fuck yeah.
And it was like the way to go.
Dude, I want to get one so badly. I want to get a gaming rig. Cause like my best friend lives in Baltimore. Whenever I go up to his house with his roommate, I'm always like bringing up an Xbox, and they're always like, "You fucking casual." And I go up to their rooms, and they've just got these big fucking like curved OLEDs, and they got their water cooled. It's like LED lights, and they're just fucking around, and it's just like they're literally like, yeah.
Oh yeah, I got my 2 monitors, dude. I moved my keyboard so we could do this, but like my 2 monitors.
Yeah, man, I need to.
My gaming headset.
I need to.
My computer is like water cooled. It's got the LEDs and all that. Like,
I need to, man.
And it's like, dude, you run a podcast. Like,
yeah, I know.
Like, you run a podcast, get one, attach a little bullshit webcam up there, or like better tech, and then like, I'm sure some of your problems are with that, like you have a shitty audio card in your laptop.
Yeah, well, the thing is like, so I started online graphic design school. So I'm 29. I graduated UGA in 2013. Got into med school. Went on an insane personal journey for like 5 years, and then started online graphic design school in this past August. And I was like, shit, I can't do this stuff on an iPad. So I got a brand new MacBook Pro, primo for graphic design, perfect. They always, like my PC friends are always like, you don't need fucking Apple unless you're doing design. Well, lo and behold, now I was doing design, and I was like, well, I needed it, and it still is. It's balling for that. But I didn't start this podcast till December. I didn't know I was going to be doing it. I was just like, might as well fucking do a podcast. And yeah, even with like a brand new MacBook Pro, it's like, remember when I told you I had to turn on the fans? I've got this. I don't even know if you can see it, but I've got
I had one of them when I had my gaming laptop. Yeah, it helps.
Yeah, it does. I've got fucking 3 stacked on each other for airflow, and I've also got this like little vacuum in the back by Polar. Tell me if you can hear it. I don't know if you can hear it now, but it sounds like a vacuum, but it sucks the air out from the bottom. But I can turn it down to where it's quiet, because that thing I was using, OBS Studios, which I had to use because the audio sucks, I had to use this to start ripping audio, but it would heat up my laptop so much that this is a pretty decent microphone, it would start picking up because it's so good. It would pick up my laptop fan like. So I was like, it doesn't matter if I use OBS to rip dope audio if this thing is now picking up my MacBook undergoing nuclear fusion. So I was like, I got this like engineering problem. I was like, I need it to be cold, but I need to be cold and quiet. And I was like, I live at home with my parents, so I was like, I don't have cash to throw at this problem. So I was like, ideally, it's a pretty simple problem, really. It's like, get a really good rig. But it's like,
now we're back to material science.
Yeah, exactly. You're back to goddamn material science, dude. But I was like, the problem's easy. It's get a dope rig and it won't overheat and it will be quiet. It's like, okay, but I don't have those things. So like, what can I do? So each of these fans was like $15. I got 3 of them. I got that like vacuum thing. It's got a little temperature gauge on it, and like, it works decently well. Like I've been dry testing it the past couple podcasts, and like listening to it and be like, okay, like, I can't really hear the fans. Like, okay, that's good, but it's getting better, and the audio is getting better, and I'm slowly figuring this shit out so it sounds less like a home video. But I mean, dude, ultimately, when I can get this thing monetized and just fucking move the fuck out, my first thing is gonna be like, dude, I don't have a girlfriend, man. I don't have debt. I don't have kids. I don't have a pet. Like, if I can get this monetized, I'm gonna get like a 2-bedroom apartment, and one of the bedrooms is just gonna be like a podcast and gaming fucking room. And I just want to get a fucking rig that, I just want to drop bank on it and just get like a room for it. Get like those audio tiles and fucking crank the AC up, keep that thing cool. I already got a big fucking dope chair and desk. But yeah, I want to get like 3 fucking like 8K monitors and just get this like monster machine.
Dude, I still live at home.
Yeah.
It's like,
oh, fuck yeah. Woo! At home gang.
I'm just like banking my money until I can buy a house.
Fuck yeah.
And it's like till the right one pops up, but like they don't make me pay rent.
Yeah, exactly.
My school was free.
Yeah, yeah.
I went and splurged and I bought like a $50,000 car, but that's neither here nor there.
Yeah, that's not here nor there. Yeah, this, dude, I fucking, yeah, dude. How do you build like a rig though? Like that's what it seems like intimidating because I'm like stupid and I've used Apple my whole life and I'm like, if it's not Apple, how am I going to use it? But I'm like slowly realizing like I've been looking at the new like iMac Pros and like sure they're dope, but I don't need a $56,000 MacBook Pro or
Dude, you know what you're gonna do?
What?
You're gonna look up YouTube videos and then you're gonna have someone on your podcast teach you how to do it live.
And I'll do a podcast episode where I build it.
And they're going to talk about the computer parts while you build it, and they show you where to put things. That's what you're going to do. That's going to be a cool episode.
That's going to be I think you're going to be that person for me. Do you want to be that guest?
I could do it. I'll tell you what, my brother, I cheated because my brother like helped me a lot, but I know what I'm doing now.
Oh, you slut.
But like, yeah, that'd be a cool episode, dude.
Well, it would. No, because it would be cool is because I think it would be, let's say this fucker gets like monetized over the summer. Let's say like by Christmas, I have like enough money to throw it around. Godspeed. Let's hope I have enough money for Christmas. Let's just say that's when it happens. What I would do is it would be like a multi-episode series. It'd be over like a weekend. But what I would do is I'd start slowly building it live, but then like the podcast quality would start to go up as the episodes went on. So like you'd start to like one of them we get big. Okay, now we're using the thing with like the better like audio card, and then be like, okay, now we flip to like the 8K 60 FPS webcam, and it's like it would start to like, and by the end it would just be like this like crisp, clean cut, like beautiful thing. It'd be literally like a real time transformation, dude. That would be a badass episode. It'd be like,
I think it'd be cool, man. If you me, sure, that'd be all right, but like someone that like knew like the ins and depths and like could talk about like it more than the average person. I could a little bit, but like my knowledge is pretty superficial to computers. But like someone that like works with them day in and day out and like could like talk to you about it, that'd be a really cool episode.
So yeah, I think I should like get this monetized and just like stack cash, put it aside. Yeah. And like, how much would I need? Because I feel like there's really no ceiling on what you can do with.
There is a floor. Yeah.
Your face had pain on it when you said that. Is it from experience?
Well, not like experience, but like you like sort of like if you're gonna build a desktop, like 1,000's like kind of where you want to, maybe like 800, whereas you want to like buy in at. And then like you said, there is no ceiling. Like you could. Yeah. I got one for like, I think after like my monitor, graphics card, and like not everything came at once, but I think like after I was done, it was like $2,400, and like the monitor was like 2 years later, and that was like $500 in of itself. But like the computer,
monitors don't get.
That thing was expensive, but I got it like on a deal from Best Buy for like $200 off. It was pretty cool. But yeah, like that thing has served me for I graduate college in 18, 20 now, I guess like 2.5 years almost. That thing's look, I got it like a little bit before I graduated, like 3 years pretty much. It's been serving me and it's still not antiquated. So like you spend like $2,000 and you'll probably have it running for like 5, 6, 7, 8 years.
And you can update it though, right?
Oh yeah, you pull things out, put them back in.
So it's
not like a console where like you can't do anything to it.
Yeah, you can get lucky and have a pandemic and go turn in a 360 for an Xbox One X, which, by the way, I just plug in even though I'm in real time, I'm like slowly losing like Apple and console, and I am being drawn towards the light of PC Master Race. But like, it's all that being said. The Xbox One X on a 4K TV, holy fuck! It's I gotta give credit where credit's due. Holy fuck!
Yeah, man. Apple is for certain people and isn't for others. Like I love the iPhone, and but like I could never use like a tablet just because I feel like I'm like limited. But like the computer, for what you're doing, like graphic design, Apple's great. My neighbor is like a freelance graphic designer, and he uses like all Apple pretty much exclusively. But like for gaming and stuff, I'm not really into that. But like I wish I could have that gaming computer Apple that wasn't $7,000. It wasn't like the $4,000 whatever they sell.
Yeah.
But you can do a lot better for a lot cheaper with a PC.
Yeah. I mean, dude, the new iMac Pro, the base is the cheapest one you can get is $5,000.
Yeah.
And you can mod it up to $13,000. And then the new Mac Pro, like the modular case.
Yeah.
I think the maxed out one goes to, I think it's $57,000.
I've read an article about that, but they're like, I think they got some heat from it because like that stand they sold for it, just like the stand was like $1,300 or something. But like from what I heard, they were like targeting like movie like makers and like movie editors. Which sense. Dude, if you're gonna like make like a multi-billion-dollar movie,
you're gonna make Endgame. Like
having like a $30,000 computer isn't that unrealistic. Like,
not at all.
Yeah.
If you're producing Iron Man, like go get the fucking $50,000 because it's nothing.
Yeah.
But like if you're not producing like if you're not filming like 8K raw and like literally like doing a Hollywood movie, it's dude. I think the stand though, the $1,000 stand, I think that was just good. I think that was just free publicity. I think it was no different than Elon smashing the windows of his Cybertruck. Because I mean, you can spread it like a fucking viral meme for $0. So you can either spend all this money on shitty Apple ads, like just like whatever they're doing, and put it on the Super Bowl, or you can be like, hey, $1,000 stand, and everyone's fucking outraged. But what is it doing? Like coronavirus, it's just transferring everywhere. Everyone knows about it. I mean, Elon got what, 300,000 pre-orders on the Cybertruck.
Cybertruck's pretty cool. I like that thing, man.
Dope as fuck. That's what I want. I want an apartment. I want a PC gaming rig, and I want a Cybertruck. I want a matte black Cybertruck, dude. That would be sexy. I don't need a girlfriend. I just need that thing.
That'll get you girlfriends.
Yeah, fuck that. It's those Elon memes like, don't look at her, look at me. Sex is temporary. Mars is forever. We have a mission. But yeah, bro, let's we should definitely, if you'd like to, I'd love to do another one sometime. I got guests through Monday of next week, but I'd definitely do another one if you want to.
Yeah, it's going to be tough the next month because we're going into this outage thing.
Yeah, dude, no.
I'm off till Friday just because, like, we have big breaks every now and then. But, like, coming Friday, I'm going to be working, like, 6 on, 1 off, 12-hour shifts for, like, a month.
All right, yeah.
So, like,
it's no rush, man.
Who knows, we might be living there in the next week. No, I'm serious. Like, we might end up having to live there 24/7. So
I might have to do a podcast if you're living there.
Yeah, if that comes, like, that'll be pretty cool to talk about.
I'll boot whoever the fuck is coming, and I'll be like, sorry, I got a quarantine nuclear engineer. I'll be like, I got to do it.
Not an engineer, operator, but yeah.
Fuck yeah, engineer, same thing, whatever. PhD, yeah, you're the same.
We learn some of the principles of engineering.
You're pretty much Oppenheimer.
Yeah, pretty much.
I mean, pretty much. Just call it what it is, right?
Basically, yeah.
I don't give a fuck. There's no fact checking here. You're a nuclear engineer, goddammit. You're the president of MIT. Thank you for coming on my podcast.
No problem.
Yeah. Thanks, Tommy. No, but seriously, dude, I fucking appreciate it, man. And let me know if you're gonna be living there, because I will fucking cancel my guests. We're gonna do one from there.
I'll see if I can I can get my laptop there. That'd be pretty cool if I could do one from live. Yeah. Actually, no, I don't know if I'm allowed to.
Can you bring your phone? Can you bring your phone?
Yeah, phone, definitely, yeah.
Because I've done FaceTime episodes. Yeah, I wonder if security, if you're allowed to, like, film inside.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Like, I take pictures of stuff in the plant when I see things go wrong and, like, show it to people just to document it.
Just show them the American flag. Be like, dude, he's on our side.
Yeah.
I'm not...